lives.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 12th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 2 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 3. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Health Canada says there is no evidence the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is causing blood clots. It issued a statement last night confirming it was aware of reports out of Europe, at least 9 countries temporarily suspending use of that vaccine. Health Canada says it thoroughly reviewed the vaccine and wants to reassure everyone the benefits continue to outweigh the risk. Now, health experts in Britain also say no reason to doubt that safety or that vaccine safety. Several European Union countries have stopped administering the shot, and that included Denmark late last night. Anthony Harden is with the UK Joint Committee on Vaccinations and Immunisation.
It is a vascular illness which can cause quite severe blood clots throughout the body. So people ought to be absolutely reassured that we are seeing no major safety signals in the UK with these vaccines.
Now, European Medicines Agency have determined the vaccine's benefit outweigh the risks. They say no case of death has been found to be caused by any COVID-19 vaccine so far. It is a milestone day for Ottawa's vaccination rollout. Residents 90 years of age and older are able to be vaccinated through the city's first mass clinic. It's on track to open today. Eligible residents living in expanded high-risk areas can also get their shots. Here's City News reporter Alex Goudie.
Marking the first sign of expansion to the general public, the site opening today at the Nepean Sportsplex is the first of 7 mass vaccination clinics on track to open across Ottawa. General Manager of Emergency and Protective Services Anthony DeMonte says he is hoping 4 more of the sites can open within the next couple weeks. At the moment, the clinic at the Sportsplex is only offering jabs to those 90 or older. There are around 10 and 12,000 residents within that age group across the city, and DeMonte predicts it will take about 2 weeks to get them their shots. Roughly 15,000 doses will be able to be administered through the mass vaccination clinics per day. The city is currently injecting 2,000 to 3,000 doses each day due to factors such as supply. Those living in expanded high-risk areas and are 80 years and up or receive chronic home care will begin getting vaccinated through pop-up clinics today as well. For a full list of areas along with information on how to book an appointment, head to ottawa.citynews.ca. Alex Goudie, City News.
City News time 9:02. A number of records smashed yesterday with that warmth in Ottawa, almost 4 degrees warmer than the previous record. The airport recorded a temperature of 15.1. In Smiths Falls, a high of 17 degrees. That smashed the old record, almost 5 degrees. All the record warmth has led to a quick snow melt, though, and that has left to a lot of pooling and flooding on streets. Police warning drivers to watch for pooling, as well above freezing temperatures will continue today. And now with your forecast, here's meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Well, it won't be as warm for us today, but we're still well above average. The high do have a chance of showers for the afternoon. Overall, most areas will have lots of sunshine. Tonight, there is a chance of showers or flurries with a gusty northwest wind, a low -11. And for the weekend, sun and cloud, colder highs, 0 Saturday, just -2 on Sunday. For today, the high 7.
And right now in Ottawa, 2 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 3. A dramatic change in the number of people who found work last month across the country. Economists had predicted about 75,000 job growth. But StatsCan says the actual number, 259,000. StatsCan also says the unemployment rate dropped a full percent, down to 8.2 in February. We're expecting provincial and city numbers to come out this morning as well. I'm Andrew Boyle. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Good, bad, or complicated.
There's no news in Ottawa and the Valley he won't talk about.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Friday. We made it. More yesterdays, please. That was wonderful. Amazing what a southerly breeze will do for the mood of a city. Good morning. This is the Rob Snow Show. On City News, great show ahead for you. All the fantastic Friday fare coming up. Lowell Green along for the ride. Just a few minutes' time with a hot take on the day's news. Pierre Bourque of Bourque Newswatch with a look back at a week's worth of headlines. Steve Warne, Senator FL as well. I should say Mark Goudie will be on our show this morning. Right after the 11 o'clock news. He's the president of OSEG, Ottawa Sports Entertainment Group. So we'll talk about TD Place, Lansdowne Park. Will the Red Blacks even have a season this year? Will the 67s play a single game? What about the retail and hospitality side of OSEG? What's going on there these days? Have things improved? Lots of questions to ask. And we'll have our MPPs join us. Queen's Park Week in Review. Vaccines. Isn't that the biggest story of the week? Yeah, I think so. I mean, vaccines are the biggest story just about anywhere. And I'd love to get your take on how things are going in this country. Say compared to some other countries. Let's just pick one. Let's say the United States, for example. You know, a couple of things have occurred in the last 24 hours, and I really think we should sink our teeth into them. One is some testimony that was offered up yesterday by an official from this group called NACI, National Advisory Committee on Immunization, NACI. Now, this is the group that recommended to the Trudeau government it's okay to go as long as 4 months between doses of vaccine, 112 days, okay? Manufacturer says 21 days, 28 days. Beyond that, you're kind of stretching it. We're going to go 112 days between doses. And when this official at this committee yesterday was being questioned by Michelle Rempel-Garner, Conservative MP, health critic for the official opposition, this person said that the reason they're doing this is because of supply problems. There's not enough vaccine. And she admitted that NACI wouldn't have recommended this at all if the country had managed to do what Trudeau said he was going to do and have us swimming in so much vaccine we could all be immunized 4 or 5 times if we wanted to. So let's listen to this. David, roll tape.
Why was 4 months selected in the dosing interval for Pfizer? Why not 3 or why not 5? Yeah. Why 4?
Excellent question. So what the modeling had showed us is that the ideal interval would be 6 months if we wanted to have the most gain in terms of decrease in hospitalization and death for Canadians. However, when we looked at 6 months and the supplies that we were going to have, it was said to us that we would never need to go beyond 4 months because we would have enough doses to.
This was chosen simply based on a vaccine delivery schedule.
Vaccine delivery and mathematical modeling.
Okay, so there was no actual scientific. This was purely based on a pure procurement schedule, like desperation and a pure procurement schedule.
Well, there's a basis of science, but you're right that why 4, not 4.5 or 5, was based on procurement.
Wow. That's
wow.
I'm kind of shocked.
Okay, yeah, supply. Okay, it's about supply. Yeah. So there's that. That's an admission, right? It's an admission. NACI would not have suggested 4 months if we had enough vaccine to go around. And the fact is, we don't. Okay, we don't. That's why we're waiting 112 days between doses. It's not recommended you do that. Now, I want to point out again, I have had many experts on this program and they have told me without fail, they are confident that it's okay to wait 112 days. It's still not recommended, though. It's not ideal. But that's the Canadian situation, okay? That's the Canadian situation. Then there is the American situation when it comes to their vaccine rollout. The Americans are now doing, so according to the Bloomberg Vaccine Tracker, I looked it up this morning. You can look it up for yourself. The Americans are now doing 2.2 million I repeat, 2.2 million doses a day. In this country, we have done 2.7 million doses in 88 days. And yesterday, U.S. President Joe Biden said every American who wants to be vaccinated by the 1st of May will be able to be vaccinated by the first day of May. Roll tape on that, please.
In addition, we'll continue to use the Production Act to expedite critical materials in vaccine production, such as equipment, machinery, and supplies. I've also asked the Department of Defense to provide daily logistical support to strengthen Johnson & Johnson's efforts. And I want to thank Johnson & Johnson and Merck for stepping up and being good corporate citizens during this national crisis. Here's what all this means. We're now on track to have enough vaccine supply for every adult in America by the end of May.
Every adult in America by the end of May, the first day of May. Okay, the first day of May is 50 days from today. In 50 days, every American adult who wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated sometime in the next 50 days. That is the pledge from the new American president. Here in this country, we have NACI saying you have to wait 4 months between doses because the Trudeau government messed up the only job it had in all of this, which is securing a reliable supply of vaccine. So I don't know about you, but where does this sense of optimism come from? That this country is somehow back on track. Everything is A-OK. Oh, whatever problems plagued the initial rollout, they've all been worked out. Really? Really? In case you didn't hear, the health experts are talking about what? Third waves? Lockdowns? Sudbury ordered back into lockdown yesterday. Sudbury's a fair-sized city. 165,000 people live in Sudbury. Meantime, the Americans are told they might be able to gather in small groups and have fireworks and celebrate the 4th of July. Canada Day in this country, very much in doubt. 50 days. And we're averaging 78,000 doses a day right now. 78,000 doses a day. They're doing 2.2 million south of the border. We're doing 78,000. To do the more than 35 million Canadians that have yet to get a single dose of vaccine in the next 50 days, we would need to be doing more than 700,000 doses a day just to give everyone one dose of a 2-dose vaccine, or 1.4 million doses a day, or put another way, we still wouldn't have to be doing as well as the Americans. And yet we can't seem to manage. Maybe you have some thoughts on that this morning. That's why I like to do the Talkback Hour. And today's the Friday free-for-all at 750-1310, right after the 10 o'clock news. Look, here are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a teacher of any age in the United States, you can get vaccinated today. Doesn't matter how old you are. You can get a vaccine in Ottawa if you turn 90 years old sometime this year. So tell me again how we're all back on track. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
When it came to opening the business, because I was so young, there was a lot that I didn't know about management, financial management, management of people, all around management, I think, is the word that I always come back to. I think that I always had a passion, and I knew that I wanted to create a space for people to get their hair done, but I had no idea, even having studied business management, what it really took to open a business as well as sustain a successful business. So in 2014, I was actually working with Angela Sutcliffe. She was my business coach at the time, and she was like, what's your niche? Like, what separates you from other salons? And when we started to really dig, it was the curls. It was the fact that we work with all kinky, wavy, coily, which is how we identify our curl types. And then you have straight hair as well, of course. But more than 70% of the world has some sort of curl pattern to their hair. And we just realized that was not being addressed. It wasn't something we learned about in school. So I went to the States and traveled all over to kind of gain the information that I have now to be able to share it with our clients and as well as with other stylists. So in March when it came, I thought it was gonna last, a week, 2 weeks, I think it started off at 2 weeks. And I was like, cool, I have 2 weeks to just relax, that's fine. So I was actually in a position where I was not happy, so to say, but I was a little bit happy, to be honest, just because of what I was experiencing personally. Now, when that extension started to happen, it was not a great feeling. It was very uncomfortable not knowing how I was going to support myself financially. So I'm so excited about the Academy. It's something that I started and I launched it during the pandemic. So I've been teaching for a number of years. I've been educating for a number of years. I educated at Algonquin. I've educated at Versailles Hair Academy. And I've also educated in my own space. Up on Green Bank. And so it was just a continuum of what I've been doing for these years. When we have a client in our chair, it's not just about making your hair look great. It's about how do you go home and take what we've just taught you and emulate that. So now with a world where people want to quote unquote be diverse and inclusive, what does that really look like in a salon setting? And for me, it looks like being able to invite any curl type, any hair type really, because I can take care of straight hair types just as well as, I can take care of curls. And we cater to all curl types regardless of what you look like on the outside, we got you.
Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Good morning, Lowell Green.
Good morning, Rob Snow. There's another set of figures that I think are very, very important when we're talking about vaccines. And that is that the evidence is everywhere that vaccination is extremely effective. We just have new figures out of the United States. You're talking now almost 100 million doses of vaccine have been administered in the United States. About 30% of their population has received at least one shot, and a little bit over 10% has received both shots. But listen to the effects. Back about 3 months ago, on average, about 250,000 new COVID cases were breaking out every single day. 250,000 infections per day 3 months ago. Yesterday, 50,000. It has dropped from 250,000 a day to now in the United States, 50,000, primarily because about 1/3 of the population has been vaccinated. We all know that the Americans for the most part, are not paying the same kind of attention to masking, et cetera, et cetera. The big difference there is the vaccinations. The point I'm trying to make here is it's one thing to talk about numbers. All of these nations, some 40, 45 nations have vaccinated more people than we have. That's very important. But what is even more important, I think, is that it is saving lives. It is saving hospital beds. It's working. And we simply are lagging so far behind, we're missing all of these benefits, or certainly most of them. And a lot of people still don't realize, Rob, you mentioned this morning, good for you. We still have not administered 3 million doses of vaccine. 2.71 is the latest figure that I have. So we still have not administered 3 million doses. Here's the Americans, 100 million. I mean, in other nations, even, one of the nations that has now leapt ahead in this is Chile. Chile, right today, Chile is doing administering more vaccinations per day on average than any other nation. Like, how could Chile get vaccinations and vaccine, and we can't? As just one example. We've talked about other examples, Israel, Serbia. Serbia has always been way out in front of us here. The United Kingdom, Morocco, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, Bahrain. It goes on and on and on. All of these nations.
Yep.
somehow or other seem able to vaccinate far more people than we. But I just go back to the fact, it's one thing to say we're vaccinating, but it's quite another when you realize that it is working. It is saving lives. The indication is if we had had vaccines at the same rate of the United States or the saved a lot of lives. We're not fooling around here. We are talking about lives being lost needlessly. Thousands of stores shut down needlessly if we had had the vaccine. Now, I'm listening to Trudeau, and he's talking about, we're going to have 3 million, Pfizer vaccines coming in the next month and a half. Folks, in order for everybody in Canada who wants it to get 2 shots, which is what we have to have, we need 60 million doses. For God's sake. I mean, we're talking about a little dribble, little drabs, little drip, 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 drip here, 700,000 here, a million. We need 60 million freaking doses. Yeah. Now, and you raise the issue, and I am
I just run the numbers. We'd have to do about 1.5 million doses a day. Now, it's not impossible. The Americans are doing 2.2 million doses a day.
Well, yeah, but very clearly we're not going to do it. But I am very worried. I'm with you. This idea suddenly that this 4 month gap between the first and second, this just sort of descended from heaven. One day, I've talked about this before, one day we're told, hey, it's got to be 21, 28 days, the gap between first and second shot. That's what Pfizer is saying, et cetera, 21 to 28 days. And then suddenly, overnight, these same experts who told us that we had to have 21, 28, now tell us it's okay to have 4 months. Where did this come from? You're absolutely right, and the spokeswoman, whoever it was, they finally admitted it. It's because we don't have enough. This is not, this 4 months gap is not because of science. It's not to improve the administration. It's because we don't have enough. This is the way to make Trudeau and the Liberal government look better. Trudeau can now say, in all probability, by the end of September, maybe October, November, most people in this country will have had at least 1 shot. And so Trudeau will be able to stand, I promised you that everybody would be administered by September. Well, yeah, but except we only got half the dose. But this, you understand the point here?
Yep,
this is for no other reason that we don't have the vaccines, and this is the way to get good old Justin Trudeau off the freaking hook. But, I'm going to tell you something else. I'm 84. I have very serious heart problems. I still haven't been vaccinated. I still can't find out when I'm going to be vaccinated. I'm listening this morning, and I'm told that on your station that if I'm over 90, I can go down to the Nepean Sports and maybe get vaccinated. Yeah. I hope they have facilities there for wheelchairs and walkers and all the rest of it. I hope they don't make them line up out in the damn snow and the cold like they did, 2 weeks ago at the Civic Hospital. But
I heard on our station this morning they expect it will take a few weeks to do everyone.
It's another 2 weeks. So now we're looking probably the 1st of April before they'll even tell me when I can get my vaccination. Come on. I mean, by the 1st of April, almost half the population of the United States will have had 2 doses. I mean, it's not just the United States that's so far ahead of us. We've talked about Israel. About 80% of everybody in Israel has now had 2 shots. I mean, they're almost finished.
Yeah, they're pretty much done now in Israel. Yeah.
I beg your pardon?
They're pretty much done in Israel.
They're pretty well done. Yeah. The UK, they say that things will be wide open again in the UK probably by early May. Okay. Yeah. But and I've talked about this before, and I want to stress once again, it's not just a matter of lives. We're talking about the economy. If these other economies are opened up much quicker than we are going to lose more investment, more foreign investment, more domestic investment. I mean, if we are still shut down essentially in this country, the United States is wide open, UK wide open, et cetera, et cetera. That's where the money is going to go. So it's not just a matter of lives, although that's very important. Sure. It's also a matter of the economy. The sooner we can get vaccinated, the sooner we can open up the damned economy, get everybody back to work, and get pooping again in this country.
All right. Okay. All right. So clearly not everything is right in Canada and with the Trudeau government. You would agree. Now, I want to move along. All right. Okay. because I think we have to talk about if all of that is going on, and it's all going on.
Yep.
Then why is it that the Conservatives are not capitalizing on this? What's wrong with the Conservative? All of that is true. Why aren't the Conservatives up by 7 points? Instead, they're trailing by 7 points. They're at 28% in the polls. That is the worst polling number since this party was created by Stephen Harper and Peter MacKay. What is going on with Aaron O'Toole and the Conservatives?
Beats the hell out of me. Well, actually, I have a few ideas.
Well, give me a few ideas.
Well,
come on.
One thing is, I mean, COVID has been uppermost in almost everyone's mind. And who's in front and center every day on COVID, reassuring us that everything is fine, that the money is going to pip out? It's Trudeau. So he's the guy that we look to. When there is a serious problem, we look to the person who's addressing it. And O'Toole is not in a position to certainly not to influence it. But so Trudeau is there. He's the guy. He's the spokesperson. And not only, I think there's something else happening, and that is that we're learning to live with COVID in this country. So I don't think in most minds it's quite as serious as it used to be. It should be, but it's not, because you can only worry about something for so long, Rob, and we've learning to live with it here. So it's not quite as vital, I think, as it used to be. But we look to not only that, but I mean, let's face it. I mean, Trudeau has pumped billions and billions and billions of dollars here, so that a lot of to be honest with you, from what I understand, a lot of people are out there are making more money now because of CERB and all the rest of it than they would make if they were working. So that's
right.
If you have a problem,
sure,
and there's one guy that's in a position to solve it and is shipping you out all sorts of money to sort of salve the problem, he's the guy that's going to get the kisses.
Right. Okay, now I have to ask you this. Credible reports suggest that one of your old sparring partners, a fellow by the name of Bob Chiarelli, is planning a political comeback and may run for mayor of Ottawa. Now, if he does, you still have another cheek, so he could declare another Lowell Green half-ass day. What do you remember when he did that, right? I do declare. Today is Lowell Green half-ass day.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's democracy. It's good on him. Actually, to be honest with you,
79 years old, Bob Chiarelli, 79 years.
He did a good job as regional. I mean, I worked hand in glove with him during the Great Ice Storm. He did a wonderful job there. He coalesced everybody for rescue operations. He was good on him. You know, go ahead, Bob. What the hell? I mean, let's face it. He did a terrible job as energy minister for the province of Ontario. Yes. But I think in many ways he was sort of caught between a rock and a hard place there.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But it's going to be, you know what? If he runs, at least it would make the race very interesting.
It would.
Right?
Yes, it would. Right. It would. Yeah, it all depends on whether Watson's going to run again. Right.
But I tell you, there's something else I forgot to mention. Yeah. Not only the 4-month delay, I'm very suspicious of. This is not science. This is convenience. Okay. The other thing is, apparently 9 countries have now stopped using, what is it, the
AstraZeneca, yes.
They say that it's causing blood clots. But not here in Canada. Oh, no, it's okay here. Once again, I think this is desperation. We need it desperately. And I think that I'm sorry to say it, but I think the health experts are only too prepared to use us as guinea pigs, national guinea pigs here. The 4 months not tested. We don't really know whether this will be scientifically approved. We don't know that. We don't know. If 9 other countries have found problems with the vaccine, I think we would at least have another look at it. But we're so desperate here that we're prepared to use our citizens, including me and you, Rob, as guinea pigs.
Okay.
I resent it.
Well, you know, you're in the guinea pig cage long before me. So
talking about guinea pigs.
Good luck to you.
I must tell you, this is a banner day here at the Coupe de Car.
Oh, good. Okay.
I am going to open the gates and let my pigeons out. I am going to let them have a little flyabout. Okay, it's warm enough.
Yes, good stuff, Lowell Green.
They don't know it.
All the best.
I'm going to go out and tell them very shortly. They will be ecstatic.
Gotta run.
Good morning.
Lowell Green, back after the news with Pierre Bourque from Bourque Newswatch here on
news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 12th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now, 2 degrees in Ottawa. It's 4 degrees in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news this hour. Unemployment rate dropped almost a half point in Ottawa last month to 6.1% from 6.5% the month before. The rate actually went up slightly in Gatineau. Numbers come after StatsCan reported a gain of 259,000 jobs countrywide last month. Economists had expected a growth of 75,000. The national unemployment rate is now at 8.2%. That is the lowest it's been in the past 12 months. Health Canada says there is no evidence the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine is causing blood clots. It issued a statement last night confirming it's aware of the reports out of Europe. At least 9 countries, now including Denmark, the latest, have temporarily suspended use of the Health Canada says it thoroughly reviewed the vaccine. It wants to reassure everyone the benefits continue to outweigh the risks. Ottawa Police Service says a 30-year-old man who lives in Ottawa is still missing. Constantine Buchanan was last seen in Ottawa on March 5th and then in Kingston on March 6th. Officers issued a release yesterday asking for the public's help in locating this man. You can see his picture on our website, ottawa.citynews.ca. City News Time, 9:32. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Back to the Rob Snow Show on City News. From Bourque Newswatch, Pierre Bourque, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
All right, top story at Bourque.com this morning. NFT auctions off for $69 million. What the heck is a non-fungible token? Good question.
Yeah, that's the question a lot of people are asking today.
An NFT. What the heck is an NFT?
So first of all, an NFT, let me explain non-fungible. If you walk into the National Gallery of Canada and you want to buy a print of an artwork by A.Y. Jackson, they probably can sell you as many as you want to pay for, and those are fungible. So that means they can be replicated. Non-fungible means you want to buy the original A.Y. Jackson, and there's only that one. He went up in the Gatineaus, he painted a barn house or a nice rural scene, and you buy that. That's the one and only. That's non-fungible. As far as tokens go, tokens is simply the way that something is attached to the blockchain to provide transparency and so that everybody can see it. You don't have to take your piece of artwork that you found in your grandmother's attic and take it in for experts to determine whether or not it's a real Van Gogh or not. That will prove that that's what that is. And in this case here, you've got a digital piece of artwork. So, myself, I'm an artist. I probably started with crayons and chalk and charcoal, and I've moved through oils and acrylics to digital formats, and that's what I do now. So digital artwork is a recognized form of art. And in the case of this particular artwork yesterday, the hundreds of years old, I think it's 200-year-old auction house, Christie's, one of the most storied auction houses in the world, took this digital artwork that was an NFT and put it at auction yesterday. I think it took a couple of weeks to run through the auction. It was online, and it was bought by one of the big names in the crypto space. He paid $69.7 million American. So, let's do the quick math there. You're almost $100 million.
$100 million. $100 million. Yeah, pretty much.
It is one of the top 20 most expensive paintings. Or let me flip it around. It's one of the 20th most paid pieces of artwork in the history of auctioning.
So, is it a piece of art? Could I hang it on my wall?
You can hang it on
computer screen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Not quite the same. It's not quite the same.
I think it's relative. It's all relative. Right. It's all relative, and that's where the world is moving, is to have that variable.
I don't know.
And, to each his own, and everybody has got his own sense of what they want to do. Do they want to put it in a scrapbook? Do they want to put it on the wall? Do they want to have it on their computer screen? And that's the way the world's going.
So what's in it for the artist? In this case, his real name is Mike Winkleman, but he is known as Beeple.
So Beeple is his nom de plume. It's his name that he signs his artworks with.
Right.
He's somewhere near Raleigh, North Carolina. His claim to fame prior to this was that he did quite a few record covers or covers for musical albums and so forth. And so he's got a recognition of that, and he's created artworks that he's sold up until now for a few $100s here and there per artwork. And when the NFT craze exploded literally just in the last month, he harnessed that, and he's done quite well with it, of course. And I think he's blazing a trail that is being followed by many, many people. And the first challenge for any artist, and hopefully you've got some listeners out there who are artists, it might be the ones that show their works in Manotick or in Canada, those kinds of local things.
Yeah.
But this is a coming thing, and I think it behooves anybody who is interested in artwork to not only learn about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, but also to see how they can apply them to their own artistic activities. I'll say this, just maybe the last point on NFTs, is that we're just seeing the first semblance of how NFTs are going to be applied. And it's a cultural thing right now. But once we get this into the business world, think of intellectual property and how that can be assigned with non-fungible tokens. And it's a fantastic tool. We're going to see a lot of that.
So you basically own, Pierre, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're basically going to own the original file, if you will.
Correct.
Computer, the bits, the bytes, the ones, the zeros. All right, I'm going to make an NFT out of my opening remarks every day, and I'll auction them off for $50 million. I'll start the bidding at $50 million.
Why not?
Why not? Right. It's all the rage. No, but it's interesting because one of the things that this will ensure, you say, is the authenticity of the artist's work will never be in doubt, right?
Correct.
Right. This is very interesting because I just watched a documentary. Jen and I just watched a documentary this weekend about Norval Morrisseau, the famed Canadian artist, Indigenous Canadian artist, Copper Thunderbird. Because one of the issues that with Morrisseau works is authenticity. The issue is there are so many fakes out there. But with this, you're saying it can't be faked, right?
You cannot. There's two amazing things about the NFT. The first one, it actually guarantees that it's not a fake. That's number one. So the Norval Morrisseau's fantastic example of how who the heck knows if it is a fake or it is a real one. He was a prolific artist.
Yeah.
There are many artists that fall in that same pot. And look, even Vincent van Gogh, I mentioned him earlier. He never sold anything in his lifetime.
Yeah.
But he was a prolific artist.
Yeah.
So, there's still questions from time to time as to whether a particular piece of art is, and it goes back to dead artists. The other thing, if I could add, Rob, which is really fantastic for an artist of any kind, whether they're creative musically, whether it has to do with visual art, or for that matter, a written form, is that you can attach to, because it's a digital format, you attach a contract to it. And you can say, look, I'm going to sell the Rob Snow NFT for $50 million.
Yeah.
And that sells for $50 million. But in the contract, you can say that for each time it is resold, I'm going to get 5% commission on that.
Right.
So for perpetuity.
Perpetuity,
you and Jen will be covered for years ahead as that 5%.
Every time that sells, you owe me 10% of whatever the selling price is.
Yeah, and you get it automatically. You get it through the blockchain. It's deposited directly into your account. And that's the last point that's really cool about yesterday's event with Christie's, is that there you got this old, stodgy auction house that they accepted payment for this artwork yesterday in crypto. They took Ethereum.
Ethereum, yeah. Okay. All right. It's very cool. Very cool. I understand just about all of it. Someday you and I are going to have a chat one-on-one over some barbecue about blockchain. I'm still not quite clear what. Not right now.
And go and take a look at my own NFTs. You can see that at Bourque.
Yes. Bourque.com. You are part of a podcast. I was on it last week called the News Hounds with my good buddies Rick Gibbons, Mike Therrien. Rick used to be the publisher of the Ottawa Sun radio station as well. Mike Therrien used to be the editor-in-chief of the Ottawa Sun. Your most recent guest was the mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson. And you talked about something I brought up earlier in the week. He was getting mobbed on Twitter for having breakfast at a well-known restaurant in your part of the region, Pierre, out in Dunrobin. What was it? Heart and Soul? Is that the name of the place?
Yep, Heart and Soul is well known. It's at the corner of Thomas Dolan and Dunrobin Road, and frankly, it's the only restaurant, I think, in Dunrobin at this point because the tornado destroyed the other one. And it is a spot, it's a meeting spot for breakfast, great bacon and eggs. So the mayor, last Sunday, appeared with Eli El-Shantieri, the local city councillor, and they decided to have breakfast there. And Jim was auto-tweeting that out as he went along. Took pictures of himself, or somebody took pictures of him, and that went out on his Twitter feed. But he was getting a heck of a lot of flack. In fact, he got scorched by people who were pointing out the fact that, well, neither you or Eli live in the same household, as far as we know.
That's right.
And you're not members of the same family, so what the heck are you doing getting together? And Jim's answer to that, we're calling it Breakfast Gate.
Everything
has to have a Breakfast Gate.
Sure
it's a tremendous concern. Well, on one hand, he's saying you've got to show the flag and you've got to support local business. The other side being pointed out is that health officials are telling you to maintain your bubble. So that's a challenge.
Okay, let's wrap up on this. I love this story. Unveiled this week, the 2022 Jeep Wagoneer. The Wagoneer is making a comeback. Whenever I hear Wagoneer, I think Canyonero from The Simpsons. It's big. It's big, Pierre. But do you remember the Wagoneer, right? The Jeep Wagoneer. It's like the original SUV, right?
It is. It was. Look,
it was.
I'm a huge Jeep fan. I have a Jeep Wrangler myself. My dad used to have a Jeep Wagoneer, and
he did really? Did he really? Yes.
With the wood paneling.
And it was a Woody. Wow, holy cow.
That was a great vehicle. The thing they unveiled this week is ugly as sin.
Oh, you don't like it? Oh
my God, it is ugly as sin. I think they designed it and they said, "What are we going to call this thing? We're never going to sell it. It's so ugly." And they said, "Well, wait a minute. Let's bring back the whole aura and myth of the Wagoneer and up pop the Wagoneer on the back of the vehicle." It's too bad. They should have brought it back with some semblance of that retro look with the wood paneling on the side. But to me, it looks like one of those blown up marshmallowed Patriots or something like that.
I know. Look, so many people are. They're talking about electric cars and fuel-efficient cars and hybrid cars and everything else. This ain't that vehicle. No. The Grand Wagoneer, which is the biggest Wagoneers, 471 horsepower, 6.4-liter V8. and the top-of-the-line model, like loaded, $120,995 starting price for the loaded version of the Grand Wagoneer. $120,000 for a Jeep. Let me tell you, Pierre, I love Jeeps. Don't get me wrong. But if I'm spending $120,000 on a vehicle, it's not saying Jeep on the front of it.
I think you could put Porsche Cayenne in your vocabulary for that price.
Holy cow. It's big, though. The thing is, they need I guess they want a vehicle that's going to compete with the Cadillac Escalade. And what is the Lincoln one? What's the Navigator, I guess?
The Navigator.
The big SUVs. Because the Cadillac is actually the best-selling Cadillac of all the Cadillacs. So there's a market for them. Yeah.
The Cadillac Escalade, I think, is built off of whatever its Chevy equivalent is.
Suburban.
The Chevy Tahoe or the Suburban.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful piece of machinery, but it's got a brand, right? Cadillac is a brand.
Yeah.
And today's Cadillac is not your grandfather's Cadillac in the Blue Rinse crowd that went to the country club. This is they have lots of modern ingenuity, and the styling is phenomenal, and lots of space in that Escalade. But the Jeep, a Jeep is meant to be a rugged, let's have fun type of vehicle, and it's not a people mover. that you're going to, I don't know. I think it's a mismatch, and certainly the pricing is out of whack.
All right. Look, always great. Have a wonderful weekend, Pierre.
Thank you. Same to you.
Any flooding out there, but your way? And
where we are, no, but further towards Constance Bay, I'm hearing yes, indeed.
Yeah, okay. Take care. Talk to you soon. Yep.
All right.
From Bourque Newswatch, that's my good friend Pierre Bourque. Coming up next, events. A lot of events were canceled over the last year. Spring just around the corner. We spring ahead this weekend. Sunday, the clocks will take on daylight saving time. Could we have a Canada Day? What about a Blues Fest? Mike Wood is well known in the Ottawa business community, and the name of his company is Ottawa Special Events. What are the chances that we will actually have some special events in Ottawa this spring, this summer? This is City News.
I started, as I said, at Lester's Barber Shop, and it was kind of, it was one of those things that it was just an opportune time for me to get in, just because he had decided that he was going to retire after the fire, and then the opportunity presented itself that I could open my own shop. And so I went from 150 square foot space on St. Patrick's Street to a 600 square foot space just on here, and I'm in a 1,400 square foot space now. And I don't know, it's been an interesting journey because, you know, you think that you're just going to be just you or a really small space, and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got 10 other people working for you, you're in a much bigger space, and even incorporating the boutique. Last March, when all of this started, I mean, we closed down a little bit earlier than everybody else, and I'm going to say, you know, being honest, part of it was social pressure. We shut down before everybody else did, and I'm watching all these other salons, you know, just be really responsible and say we don't want to be a part of the process. So we got ahead of it and closed, and then later the government's like, everybody's shutting down. And so it was a little nerve-wracking. I guess the first step of us, you know, trying to innovate and just keep moving forward was when the salon is closed, right? It's like, what do you do? Our whole industry is based on being with people, cutting their hair, providing a service. You have to be people together to do that. You can't do that remotely at all. So one of the first things that I saw in our industry, what people were trying to do is they were selling their hair products that they had. And luckily, I've had a website that always had a web store in the back. I just never used it. So as soon as I saw that people were doing that, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to load up all my stuff. And so that worked out really, really well. And then from there, I managed to find a place that was like a wholesale website that allowed you to have net 60 days. So you don't have to, you can order all the stuff. You don't have to prepay any of it. There's free returns, all that. So that made it really easy for me to bring in other products and start trying to sell it. And so I went from selling hair products to shave products to bath and body products to a little bit of clothing and jewelry, and now it's just morphed into this whole, like, I want to make it a By December of last year, I decided that this is a full-fledged thing and we're going to separate it. It's its own company. So it's really finding an opportunity that's there and running with it. So it's been really fun. Our clients are loving it. Our clients that have been here for a long time, they love it.
Fun.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Well, yesterday may have been just a tease. There is colder weather on the way for the weekend, but yesterday was certainly nice, that warm southern breeze. I love that. Maybe a taste of things to come, The clocks spring forward, of course, on Sunday, and we move to daylight savings time. But what about special events? You think about the last year and all of the events that had to be canceled because of COVID-19. how are things looking for this year? Are they looking any better? Are we actually going to go and attend some special events? Mike Wood is back with me on City News. He is the owner of Ottawa Special Events. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, the last 12 months, kind of a bummer, right? If you're in the business of planning special events.
Oh, it's been a wild ride for sure. And, we do less planning and more rental of equipment. So we've got a large warehouse sitting there fully stocked and ready to go when we all get the green light.
Yeah. What color's the light now?
I would say that it's yellow. I would hope that, we keep moving forward. And, the community of Ottawa has done a fantastic job in terms of trying to keep the numbers down, and we're relying on all residents in our city to continue doing a great job, and hopefully we can return to normal as soon as possible.
Right. I mean, in your business, for example, with Ottawa Special Events, what would a typical week or weekend be like for you, Mike? Like, say, 2019. What's a week like? Like, how are you doing?
Sure. So it's a lot of chaos. So we had, to give you a little bit of context, come May, June, we had 50 full-time staff.
Right.
And over the wintertime, because it's a little seasonal, we would have 22 full-time staff because there's still enough going on in Festival City, which is what Ottawa is. And, we'd be working around the clock, 16-hour days, to try and get all of the logistics done. Because, although we rented equipment for shows like Glow Fair down on Bank Street, we really had that logistical role of closing, such a main route in Ottawa, and lots of meetings. And, it would definitely be full go forward mode at this time of year for everything that's coming up. And right now it's still pretty quiet.
Right. And when you say, equipment, what kind of equipment? I'm thinking, like lights and sound and tents and
exactly
chairs and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
100% mobile stages for the festivals and so on. So, yeah, fully stocked warehouse right now, just sitting there ready to go.
Okay. And what would you normally be doing at this time of year? What is it, the 12th day of March here?
For sure. We typically be planning for upcoming events. So the Tulip Festival would be coming up in May.
Right.
We did that back in 2019. And so, we're supposed to do it again in 2020. And they're going to be doing something this year, just a much smaller, socially distanced event.
Right.
And so we were chatting with them the other day, but definitely, we're not looking at shows like, Capital Pride. I think it was 2019. They had 100,000 people down for the parade. So, it's a different world right now for us.
Yeah. It sounds like Pride's going to be more virtual again this year, right? So
correct. That's from what I've heard as well too.
Yeah. So, and your company, you're directly involved, with the equipment. But what are some of the other, maybe more indirect businesses or jobs that would be related to the events business, Mike?
Sure. So we've got, security, we've got fencing, porta potties. Those are all separate companies and companies that do it all under one umbrella as well too.
Yeah.
Transportation in terms of whoever the performer is, having the pickups from, the tourism world, like having the pickups from the airport, the hotels and so on.
Yeah.
So, the festival industry in Ottawa really is a huge economic driver for so many.
Okay. So every now and then I do see Lisa MacLeod, the heritage minister, I believe is her heritage and sport, I believe is what her portfolio is called now. She does make funding announcements. How would you describe the job that, say, the provincial government has done at trying to, support, say, the festivals in Ottawa, for example?
Sure. And Minister MacLeod's definitely out there and she's doing her best to support these festivals. The one thing I was just on a call with, there's an organization in Ottawa called Ottawa Festival. And we were talking the other day about the supply chain, because there is that supply chain we were just talking about that does need some consideration moving forward. because if these companies aren't around to provide staging, sound, and lighting, well, it's going to be a pretty sparse festival, right? So, I think everybody right now, we need to get some rapid testing involved if we're going to start reopening festivals and things like that. So, we're just hoping that, the vaccine rollout continues and we can all start moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's festivals, it's fundraisers, it's fun runs, it's all of these things, right? There's something, there's something like that happening every weekend in every part of town, right?
Every weekend. And you asked me, a few minutes ago about what a day would look like. There was weekends, Rob, when we would have 120 to 170 events that we were providing some sort of production for. Ottawa is a event-centric city.
Yeah.
And, it's charities trying to raise money. One of our big clients in May is the Dementia Walk. They try and raise money. We do a lot of things for the Canadian Cancer Society where that money goes to them. And so, it's not just small business, it's also charities.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the situation improves and we can, maybe even if it takes it to the latter part of the summer or early fall, but hopefully the situation will be much improved. Look, Mike Wood, thanks for all your advocacy, your continued advocacy.
Well, thank you, Rob. That's very kind of you.
Your awareness.
It's been a struggle some days, but it's been worth every single second, and hopefully we can all return to our normal lives before we know it.
Yeah. Great to hear from you this morning. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Yeah, the owner of Ottawa Special Events, Mike Wood. Okay, Talkback Hour is coming up right after the 10 o'clock news. My gosh, people, there's so much to talk about in the news, everything that's been going on this week. Vaccines front and center for me, but not the only big story. If there's something that's on your mind, you know what? Unburden yourself. Okay? Rob, this is in the news and I want to talk about it. Or why isn't this in the news? I want to talk about it. I have a line for you right after the 10 o'clock news. Grab one. It's wide open. 750-1310 on The Rob Snow Show here on City News.
One for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 12th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 2 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 4. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. A number of records were smashed yesterday with the warmth in Ottawa, almost 4 degrees warmer than the previous record. The airport recorded a temperature of 15.1. In Smiths Falls, a new record, 17 degrees, beating the old record by almost 5. All the record warmth has led to a quick snow melt and has flooded some streets. Police warning drivers to watch for pooling on roads. The authority has installed monitors at 4 locations to gauge water level and flood risk. These monitors are at Cumberland, North Gore, Jock River in Richmond, and along the Rideau in downtown Ottawa. Manager of Environmental Services with the authority, Brian Stratton, says the monitors will give a heads up in places that have traditionally high water levels. More information at the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority website. City News Time, 10:01, and now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Well, it won't be as warm for us today, but we're still well above average. The high today, 7 degrees. The average high about 1. Do have a chance of showers for the afternoon. Overall, most areas will have lots of sunshine. Tonight, there is a chance of showers or flurries with a gusty northwest wind, a low -11. And for the weekend, sun and cloud, colder highs, 0 Saturday, just -2 on Sunday. For today, the high, 7.
And right now in Ottawa, 2 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 4. To 6.1% last month. That was down almost a half a percentage point from January. StatsCan says the economy did regain almost 260,000 jobs last month, pushing the national unemployment rate down to its lowest level now in a year. More from our senior business editor, Mike Eppel, on the national number.
We saw the effects of reopening economies in Ontario and Quebec in February. The two provinces combined added more than 200,000 jobs to the labor market stats, and the unemployment rate nationwide coming down from 9.4% to 8.2%, the lowest level since the start of the pandemic in March last year. So still a long way to go to get back to where we were prior to the outbreak. But nevertheless, the Bank of Canada will be looking at these jobs numbers for potential trends here over the next several months and whether or not the economy is being revived faster than first thought. And does that mean they have to raise interest rates, perhaps sooner than sometime in 2022? The Business Center, I'm Mike Eppel.
Germany's health minister says he regrets some European Union countries have suspended use of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. That followed reports of blood clots in some people. At least 9 countries have done this despite the lack of any evidence the shot was actually responsible. An infectious disease doctor in our province will give the vaccine to patients this weekend because he says he trusts that Health Canada would step in if there were any concern. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo's grip on power appears to be increasingly threatened now. A majority of state legislatures calling for his resignation. And police say they're ready to investigate a groping allegation. The White House press secretary Jen Psaki was asked about President Biden's relationship with Cuomo on Good Morning America.
The president has known him a long time, but that doesn't matter in this scenario. I would say the president believes, the vice president believes, we all believe that every one of these women coming forward should be treated with respect, should have her voice heard. It's hard for me as a woman to read a lot of these stories, and sometimes we wake up and there's a new one.
Now, the Associated Press says 121 members of the state assembly and Senate have said publicly they believe Cuomo can no longer govern and should quit now. I'm Andrew Boyle. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show. 613-750-1310.
It's the Friday free for all. You pick the topics. We don't pick the topics. We have topics. But if our topics aren't your topics, pick a topic. We do our best to roll with it, whatever's on your mind. And wow, so many people have called already. So let's get right to the phone calls. You don't want to hear from me. It's Friday. Brian. Good morning, Brian.
Yeah, good morning, Rob.
Morning, Brian.
You know, the reason I listen to CFRA and I read the alternate media instead of...
I don't listen to CFRA. What's going on over
sorry,
there?
Not CFRA. Sorry, old age disease here.
City News, Brian. City News. 1011 FM, 1310 AM.
Yeah, put it down to old age disease there. But it's because you get the stories that the media doesn't want you to hear. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, one would think that the largest petition ever in Canadian history presented in the House of Commons would get at least mention in some newspaper.
Right.
But nothing. Over 250,000 signatures.
Yeah.
And the next biggest was 70,000.
Okay.
You would think that would get some attention.
What was it about? What was it about?
It was about
the Trudeau gun control measures.
You got
I
it.
think, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You would think that would get some attention.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yep. Largest petition ever. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. Very good. Okay. I missed that. Yeah.
So basically, it's a good reason to basically avoid most of the media and go to the smaller guys who aren't being paid.
Except for City News, right? City News.
City News.
Say it with me, buddy.
Yeah.
City News. Okay. City News. All right. Okay.
City.
All right. Thank you, man.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Yeah. It's okay. It happens all the time. Canada. Kevin. Good morning, Kevin.
How you doing there, Rob?
I'm okay, buddy.
On City News.
On City News, yeah.
Oh, God. It's funny, I had one question and then I thought of another one, but I'll ask you my first one.
Sure, yeah.
You're saying things that don't show up on the news. You know, we went through this whole rodeo about 100 years ago. Why is there almost no coverage on what they did back then?
Okay.
Like, you think that would be...
Well, a lot of us weren't around 100 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but the you know, if we had a great flood, 50 years ago, we'd probably organize ourselves in the same manner as we did. I mean,
Right. Okay.
But it's just weird that there's pretty well zero.
Well, I wouldn't even say that you would have to go back 100 years. SARS, I guess, is going on 16 years now, I think, since SARS.
Yeah.
SARS, respiratory virus. It was a respiratory virus, a respiratory illness pandemic, right? And Canada was hard hit. Canada was, outside of Asia, Canada was the hardest hit country. Entire volumes were written about it. Committee hearings were held. Reports were issued, Kevin. Action plans drawn up. Lessons learned. These are the lessons learned from SARS. And yet, here we are, less than 2 decades later, we're having a heck of a time.
Well, and the other thing that I find kind of strange is that, haven't we been in the vaccine business for about 150 years or something like that?
Well, quite a while, yeah, quite a while.
And a lot of places are saying, we've got to get organized and we've got to figure out how we're going to get these to the pharmacies. But we've been doing this for every year.
Sure.
Everybody gets a flu shot every year.
Yeah.
Why are we not 100% ready to go the second we get these vaccines in?
Well, good question. I guess I would ask is, Joe Biden says every American adult can be vaccinated by the first day of May, sir.
Yeah.
50 days. That's 50 days from now.
Yeah. And we're going to hit, 3 million by then?
Maybe. Well, we're doing, when you hang up, you can do the math. We're doing about 8,000 doses a day right now. They're doing 2.2 million.
Yeah.
2.2 million a day.
Economies of scale and all that, but you think that we could have jumped anyways. I guess we could write a book on that. But anyway, just a couple of my thoughts.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for your call, sir. Thank you for thanks for at least caring enough to consider and take in some of these issues. It's the Rob Snow Show. It's the Talkback Hour here on City News. Joe Biden says every American could be vaccinated by the first day of May. Every American adult. And he said yesterday, and David's going to play the tape for us, that Americans might even be able to gather in small groups and celebrate the 4th of July. Must be nice.
In addition, we'll continue to use the Defense Production Act to expedite critical materials in vaccine production, such as equipment, machinery, and supplies. I've also asked the Department of Defense to provide daily logistical support to strengthen Johnson & Johnson's efforts. And I want to thank Johnson & Johnson and Merck for stepping up and being good corporate citizens during this national crisis. Here's what all this means. We're now on track to have enough vaccine supply for every adult in America by the end of May.
Every adult in America by the end of May. Okay? Every adult in America by the 1st of May, he said, right? By the 1st of May. May 1, he said. Right? May 1. Yeah. So look, I want to just why don't we just look at what the numbers say? Okay? Because it's hard to argue with data. Data kind of takes the emotion out of it. First, there's our World in Data from Oxford University. Vaccine doses per 100 people in the population. And in Israel, that number now exceeds 100. It's 106.05, still leading the world by a country mile. United Arab Emirates, 64. The UK, 36. United States, it's almost at 30. It's 29.36. For every 100 people in the population in the United States, 29 have had a vaccine dose. Here in Canada, the same number, according to our World in Data, it's 7.2. 7.2. Now, that's an improvement, okay? Last week, it was 5. Earlier this week, it was 6, and now we've hit 7. But it's 29 in the United States, so we're not exactly a world beater, right? And then you look at the big raw number. Total doses. Our World in Data says the United States has done 98 million doses. India, 26 million. The UK, 24 million. Brazil, Turkey, 10 million. Israel, 9 million. Germany, almost 9 million. France, UAE, Italy, Spain, 6.5 million. Here in Canada, 2.7 million. 2.7 million. In 88 days. We started doing vaccines 88 days ago, almost 3 months ago. And we've done 2.7 million doses. Then you go over to the Bloomberg Vaccine Tracker. You learn the United States, according to the Bloomberg Vaccine Tracker, is now averaging 2.2 million doses every day. We've done 2.7 million in 88 days. And average doses per day in Canada, according to the Bloomberg Vaccine Tracker, 78,615. Better than it was last week. It was in the low 60,000 doses per day range last week. But 2.2 million in the United States, 350,000 a day in the UK, 230,000 in Germany, 200,000 in France, 166,000 in Italy. We're at 78,000. We're at 78,000. And Biden says every American adult can get vaccinated by the 1st of May. We cannot say the same thing here. Des, good morning, Des.
Good morning. Morning, Rob.
Yes, sir.
I'm on full boil this morning.
You're on full boil. Okay,
no,
all right.
Not full, no. Quite Lowell cooled me a little bit down there.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, it's just like Lowell was saying, we can't even find out what date that we can actually get our vaccine.
Right. How old are you? How old are you?
I'm almost, I was born August 25th, 1937.
1937, okay.
Yeah, it was a good year.
It was a good year, okay.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm still on top of ground. But, yeah, so now that they're saying that this here AstraZeneca, it's got some problems. And now, I think it was a spokesman, quite probably from the Liberals, saying it's no problem at all. It doesn't matter if you're 80, we'll give you an injection anyway. I'm like Lowell. I've lived a long time, pretty rough. House with pine needles in it for insulation. Double lunger outside. We were fortunate.
Right.
And then outside pump.
Sure.
Now, the thing is that I don't want to get killed by a freaking liberal saying the wrong thing after living this long. so anyway, that's my rant for this morning.
That'll be your obituary in the Ottawa Citizen.
Yeah.
Poor Des of Carp, suddenly at 84.
Yeah, there you go.
Done in by a liberal who said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. No, that'd be a shame. But you're 84 thereabouts, right?
Yep, well, yeah. 83 now. August 25th, I'll be 84.
All right, okay. What has anybody told you when you can sign up, or what? I guess.
Well, I'm like Lowell. They keep changing it now.
Right,
I definitely believe the 94s should go ahead and have it too.
Sure.
But I'm afraid that they're going to get this stuff here, and they get injected, and then that's it.
Yeah. So it'll probably be April, sometime in April for you, I guess. right? You can wait.
Probably.
You think you're going to wait? You'll be around in April, right, Des?
Oh, well, yeah. I like it.
You made it this far.
Yeah, as long as it's not over a foot. But
right, okay. Yeah, maybe somebody could sneak you across the border.
I tried that.
I don't blame you. All right, Des, thank you. Have a good weekend, buddy. We'll be right back. Talkback Hour. Talkback Hour is your hour, and it's the Friday free-for-all. So my topics, hey, if you're not into them, pick one. We'll roll with it. This is City News.
It started out with a small outdoor booth in what was called Artist Alley, which is actually the area just outside our store on William Street, where for a couple of years we sold our jewelry directly on the street. And then we slowly evolved to having an indoor location in this building, 55 Barwood Market Square. We then moved to another location in Place de Ville, and then moved back down here on Dalhousie Street at Ear Gear in the 90s. And then back into this building again in 2000 as a collection. I do a collection of jewelry called Cirque that's mainly beaded work with a combination of semi-precious and vintage beads. And then she does a hat collection called Fanfreluche that's all cut and sewn hats in a variety of fabrics and for all of the seasons of the year. We've curated and sourced the artisans that we represent in a lot of different ways over the years since it's been, since 1985. People come to us, known, and other artisans that we represent might recommend that they come and see us. Some people we find at craft shows, or we see their work, somebody wears it in, and we go and track it down and bring it. And then some people, interestingly, are with us in one medium, and then sometimes they evolve to another. They're all Canadian and mainly local. With the roughly 50 people that we have, I'd say more than half of those are Ottawa-Gatineau, and then the rest are from other cities in Canada, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, etc. If you can afford it, go to a small business and spend some money. It's lovely when you come in and give me a pep talk and tell me how much you love this place and you've been coming here for years. But if you can afford it, please spend some money too, because all the pep talks in the world are not going to pay my rent, which is still full rent even when we're closed. Then secondly, if you can't afford to spend money, follow the businesses that you want to support on social media. Go to their Instagram, go to their Facebook, follow their Twitter, and then retweet, share their Facebook page, like and comment, because if you can't afford to, as many of us can't right now, to do extra expenditures, doing all of those little things like that will raise the visibility of those small businesses and hopefully for them result in some online or curbside or other business for them.
Show. The phone lines are open at 6.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
The frustrating thing with the slow pace of vaccines is that it means we live under the constant threat of lockdowns, right? Third waves, lockdowns. It's going to be this inevitable debate. Do we ride it out? Third wave, lockdown, ride it out. What should we do? Lockdown's making a comeback. It's all over the news this morning. Lockdowns, third wave, lockdowns. Let me give you a sample of some of the stories that are out there. Quote, there is much danger ahead. COVID-19 variants are spreading fast across Ontario, top doctor says. That's in the Toronto Star this morning. Quote from CBC News. This province, Ontario, the province is facing a race against time. Some of the headline writers should be writing novels, right? There is much danger ahead. A race against time. The province is facing a race against time between the variants and vaccines. Ontario will need to tighten restrictions very soon. said Dr. Peter Juni, scientific director of the province's science table. Mississauga mayor demand of lockdown. That's a headline in the Toronto Sun this morning. Quote, Mayor Bonnie Crombie, and now she's making formal request to both the provincial government and her own regional health department to move Mississauga from the gray lockdown zone to the less restrictive red zone. Now, see, one of the issues that we keep doing this in Ontario, especially in the GTA, I don't know why they keep doing this and thinking this is in any way going to be effective. One of the issues, so Mississauga is Peel region. So Peel might be locked down and Toronto might be locked down, but you have other regions across the GTA that are less locked down than Toronto and Peel. So what do people do? They travel to the other regions and do whatever it is they need to do or do whatever it is they want to do. It's entirely predictable. It's so stupid. This is, we saw this before, just before Christmas. Down, I'll go to the mall in York. Okay, lockdown York, I'll go to the mall in Pickering, in Durham. Rinse and repeat. Some of the other headlines, enjoy it while it lasts. Modeling warns another mass lockdown might be needed. Ugly third wave inevitable for Ontario. Ontario will need harsher third lockdowns soon, reports CP24. Sudbury now into its third wave. No date set for when local lockdown will end. What a way to mark the first anniversary of the declaration of the pandemic. In Sudbury, population 165,000. The Big Nickel goes into lockdown 1 year later. Derek in Ottawa. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning, Rob. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, buddy. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Okay, now that we've got the pleasantries out of the way, what's on your mind?
You've been mentioning that, the Conservatives are just badly trailing in the polls. I think they're at an all-time low since the party was formed or something like that.
28%, yeah.
I have a theory, could be wrong, but I think Aaron O'Toole ran as a true blue Conservative, and he's just been a Liberal since he got elected, basically. So you piss off a good portion of the party, and you're going to lose support. It's not rocket. Back in the day, there was a fellow by the name of Brian Mulroney, started off strong, implemented free trade, but spent the last 3 years of his career trying to implement this failed, silly Meech Lake Accord, and the Conservatives ended up with 2 seats after that. So I think he's just going down the wrong track.
Well, I don't know if it was the Meech Lake Accord that sank him, maybe it was the GST stacking the Senate, those kinds of
But if you what's aside from a blue shirt and a red shirt, what's the difference between Aaron O'Toole and Justin Trudeau?
Isn't that a good question? I have had Conservatives call me on the phone and wonder, why aren't the Conservatives up by 10 points in the polls? It's not like Trudeau is doing a bang-up job. We got a party with a new leader. He's failing to inspire. He's barely registering outside the base, and apparently the more that potential voters get to know Aaron O'Toole, the less they like the guy. I can't figure it out. And then here's something to be afraid of, Derek, if you cheer for the team in blue. Nick Daniels came out with a poll this week that said Trudeau and the Liberals are the most trusted party when it comes to the economy, to managing the economy.
That's the Conservative strong suit.
Right. This is the Liberal Party is the party that has just blown the country's finances to smithereens, has no plans to even touch the taps, let alone turn them off, hasn't offered up the country a budget in 2 years, longest period with. And yet, that's the party Canadians trust the most to manage the economy?
And the economy is the Conservative strong suit.
Of course, right?
One suggestion for the Conservatives, I know you have to move on.
Yeah.
Promote sovereignty in some sense. We have oil in Western Canada, we have refineries in Eastern Canada, but we're relying on a foreign court to decide whether or not we're going to have oil this summer or gas. That's utterly ridiculous. Tie that in with the whole vaccine thing. How come we're so behind in vaccines? Again, sovereignty. We should have production right here in Canada. There was a company in Calgary that offered it. Trudeau dragged his feet. We did nothing. He can tie it all together and say, hey, no Chinese equipment, no Huawei equipment on our telecommunications. Aaron O'Toole's backtracking on that. He nixed a petition the Conservatives had to ban Huawei equipment from Canada, but they've kidnapped 2 of our nationals. So he's not Conservative. That's the problem. If you have a choice to vote for the real Liberal or the fake Liberal, you're going to vote for the real Liberal and Trudeau win again.
All right, Derek. Thank you. Yeah. I think he's expressing a lot of frustration that a lot of right-of-center voters are feeling right now. You know, there's infighting over what to do and how to handle the social conservative wing of the party, the more religious right of the party. It's no secret that wing of the party wanted to carry a bullhorn into the upcoming policy convention. Starts about a week from now. And was going to try and get things like abortion, gay marriage, conversion therapy on the agenda. That plot seems to have been foiled for the time being. And there won't be any votes on abortion at this convention, to the disappointment of, I'm sure, the Liberal War Room and many members of the media. Fear, and I think it's a legitimate concern about this move to embrace a carbon tax. And that the Conservatives are going to have some sort of liberal-light version of a climate change plan. One of the worries is going to be, sure, you may win a few more votes in Eastern Canada, no guarantee, but what you're really going to do is you're going to alienate the West and potentially throw more momentum behind these Wexit parties, these Wexit movements, and the worst-case scenario has the party basically destroying itself. The party of Harper instead splinters off into 2, maybe even 3 different parties. You know, you have a Wexit party, say a Red Tory party, not unlike the old PC party, which would what? Assure endless liberal governments. The concerns are valid and they are real. And just ask yourself, okay? Say an election is on the way, and I still think it is. Can you say, if you're a conservative, can you really say at this stage of the game what the game plan is for the Conservative Party, what this Conservative Party stands for, what it's going to run on? We're not Justin Trudeau is not going to get the job done. And if this person, Mr. O'Toole, does worse in the upcoming election than the former leader, the knives are going to be out for Mr. True Blue. And he will be yesterday's man. He will go down in history as the Conservative version of Mr. Dithers, 28% in the polls. Rob Snow Show, Talkback Hour on City News.
In Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 12th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 3 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 4. And here's what's making news this hour. Unemployment rates dropping like a rock last month in most places, especially in Ontario and Quebec. Down a full point in Ontario, almost 2.5 percentage points lower in February compared to January in Quebec. 260,000 jobs were created in February. In Ottawa, the rate dropped almost a half point, now at 6.2%. Gatineau's unemployment rate actually just went up slightly. New numbers from the province on COVID infections today: 18 deaths and 1,371 new cases from over 64,600 tests. In Ottawa, there are 83 new COVID-19 cases today. There are 10 more in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 12 in the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, 9 more cases in Renfrew. In the hotspot of Toronto, 371 new cases today. There's also a warning out today from about an unrecognized international epidemic. Mental health of children. An emergency room doctor in England says he usually saw 1 or 2 children a week for mental health emergencies. Now he is seeing 1 or 2 a day. A Paris doctor says the number of treatments he is doing for suicide attempts has doubled just in the last couple of months. City News Time, 10:32. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
On the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-13.
For all. So it's wide open on topics. For example, David's big topic this morning is his 2 o'clock appointment at the driving range, which opens today, the Kevin Haim driving range.
I'm counting the minutes.
2 o'clock.
2
right?
p.m.
First day, opening day, and you're there at 2 o'clock.
Well, yeah.
Hitting that bucket of balls.
You pay by the hour now, not by the bucket.
I see. Okay.
So I'm going to try and hit as many balls as I can. Get my money's worth.
What do they charge you for an hour?
Well, I've noticed that the price went up a little bit.
Well, okay. So
they charge you $20 for the hour. 20 in HST.
$20 an hour.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
$20 an hour. Okay. And my topic for the day is I kind of snapped at the person at the drive-thru window at Tim Hortons this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I go there every morning. I'm a creature of habit. I get the same thing. Bacon and egg breakfast sandwich, combo, hash brown. Okay. Sometimes an apple fritter on the side. Large coffee, 2 cream. And I'm coming through there around the same time, 6 o'clock, 10 after 6 in the morning. Tremendous service at this particular Tim Hortons. Never a complaint, nice and fast, accurate order. Staff are lovely.
Oh, yeah. Second to none.
Okay. But I don't know, if Friday, you're kind of tired, you've had a long week. Yeah. And the person taking my order says, we're out of bacon.
No bacon.
No bacon. No bacon. Okay. We're out of bacon. Okay. I'm like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. You're out of bacon. Okay. Whatever. I'll take sausage. I'm not fussy. Okay. Whatever. Just as long as it used to be a pig, you know, a pork product of some kind. Just put it on a sandwich for me with an egg. And I'm cool. Then I get up to the window. We're out of eggs.
No eggs.
We're out of eggs. So I just looked. And this lovely woman serves me every morning, and she's lovely. And it's 6 o'clock in the morning. You have no bacon and no eggs, like it's breakfast time. It's very busy. It's been very, very busy. I'm like, but it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, how can you be out of bacon and eggs at Tim Hortons at 6 o'clock in the morning?
What is the world coming to?
What is the world coming to? You know, it must be those freshly cracked eggs.
Oh, they're
David,
good.
Right?
They're darn good.
Do you like them?
Oh yeah, I try not to.
I prefer the freshly cracked egg.
Oh, of course. My Tim Hortons consumption has more than doubled since they.
Okay.
I try not to eat the fast food, but gosh, those things are so. How bad for you can it be? It's a freshly cracked egg.
Freshly cracked.
No fat in that.
Brought to you by the Egg Farmers of Canada.
Thank
God
you,
bless them.
Egg Farmers.
You know, that's the beauty of supply management. David in the West End. Good morning, David.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, David.
I won't keep you, Rob.
All right.
I just wanted you to know the wife is scheduled for the needle at 5:30 tonight at the
good luck,
Sportsplex.
David. Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
but I'm expecting certain things, right?
Okay, what are you expecting?
Well, I'm expecting probably signs for directions.
Okay.
I'm expecting not to have to line up for half an hour, being in the 90s.
Right, okay.
Maybe chairs and so on.
Right.
A lot of people will have walkers.
Of course.
I actually borrowed a walker.
Yeah.
She's 96. She won't use a walker. I had
Okay.
to borrow one
Yeah.
just in case I had to sit her down
Yeah.
during that half hour. So I'll give you a report on Monday.
Well, I look forward to that. Now, I'm just looking at the weather forecast on my weather app on my phone.
Yeah.
And it says that between 5 and 6 o'clock, the temperature between 5 and 6 will go from +3 down to +1, and there could be snow flurries.
I don't care if it's a blizzard.
All right. Well, okay. Right. Through rain, sleet, hail, and snow, you'll be there today, right?
My old man was a mailman.
Yeah, good stuff. David?
Yes.
Look, I'm so happy that your wife is getting that vaccine today. I know it's been a tough road to hoe for both of you, and
It has. And my son tried to get me at the same time.
yeah.
I'm going to pull my Aboriginal card on them today. See what happens.
Okay, well, good luck with that, David. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, and call me. I will be curious to get your account on Monday, how that went. They live independently. He is, I think he said he's 87. She's 90-something, 96, right? They live on their own, right? Incredible. Shawville, Keith, in the Pontiac. Are you there, Keith?
Right
yeah,
here.
go ahead, Keith. Yeah.
Nice sunny day up here today.
Good stuff, Keith. Glad to hear it.
The thing I want to bring up is Trudeau proposes himself as such a great feminist.
Sure.
Yet he admits now that his office knew about there were some rumors and allegations.
Yeah, he isn't that a revelation? That's quite a revelation from this week, because at first, and Global News has been all over this. Mercedes Stevenson over there at Global News has been breaking a lot of these stories, right? And Trudeau first said when he was asked about this, he said, "Well, I only heard about this when I saw it on the news." And then lo and behold, this week he said, "Well, actually, I knew about it in 2018." From I only heard about it on the news this week to I knew 3 years ago. Come on, what is it?
Well, he's been proposing that he's such a great feminist in the United Nations and Britain.
Yeah.
Every country he visits. Well, why wouldn't he then demand an investigation right away?
Sure.
And not only that, he extended Vance's term
Sure. Stands by his Minister of Defense to this day. Has confidence in the Minister of Defense, who pushed back and said, "I don't want to hear anything about it." Right?
Well, they're the cabinet minister in charge of the military. I mean, the only thing he's accomplished, I think they bought some guns, some pistols. I mean, our military is, I don't know, I feel sorry for the guys in the military right now. But anyways, the other thing I was going to mention is I heard one of the governors or senators from New York State wanted to open the Canada-U.S. border in May, but how are we going to prepare? Like, will we just allow the Americans to come over and we will still have to stay here? Will that be just a one-way direction opening, or?
Well, I mean, the fact is, let's think about this, Keith. Who should be more worried? For my money, I think the Americans should be worried about unvaccinated Canadians going into the United States. At least in the United States, they're actually getting the vaccine in millions of doses by the day.
Well, that's my point. I know they want. I mean, I like to see that border open too, but
yeah.
I mean, we're not doing our part. That's for sure.
You know, odds are an American will be vaccinated when they come across the border. The odds are not that great that a Canadian would be vaccinated going the other way.
No, maybe we'll have to come up with those passports they're talking about.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Good to hear from you. I'm glad things are good up there. Ann, Ottawa. Ann, good morning.
Hi there.
Hi.
I had to laugh at your meltdown. I mean, I don't know if there was an incident about it. I'm sure you were quite nice to the woman, but yeah.
No. It was just kind of a comment. Like, how can you be out of bacon and eggs at 6 o'clock in the morning?
No, but the funny thing is, I had a meltdown yesterday when my TV stopped working. My PVR thing, it wasn't working. And I'm like, oh my god, it's like the end of the world.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Roger was laughing at me when I was calling.
Okay.
She was very kind, but it turned out my batteries were too low.
No, she was very nice. She was very nice. It's just busy. It's just busy. It's just busy. And we also, it got all sorted out. And, I had sausage, cheese on a bagel. And it was fine. Yeah.
But it's just funny. And you were asking the other day, I wasn't able to call, what do you remember that you miss the most?
Yeah.
I'm retired. I'm a total gym rat. I would go to aerobics 7 days a week if I liked the class that was going on.
Right,
it was not just good exercise, a way of keeping fit. It was also really, really good social. There were some just lovely women going there, and I have not seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
That would be where I would see them.
Right.
And I miss that the most.
You do.
But the other comment that I would have about this whole thing is, I hear people calling, Liberals calling, defending Trudeau. Well, what's the point of jumping from Trudeau over to Erin O'Toole? It could be out of the frying pan into the fire. How, in the name of all that's holy, could it be any worse than what we're dealing with? Like, how could you defend this guy's record and support him? I'm worried about the debt and everything, but having to live in fear.
Yeah.
This has been so botched. Nobody should supporting this guy. This is bad. Yeah. This is not good leadership.
Well, if that's the case, though, I keep coming back to this. Why aren't the Conservatives leading by 10 points?
Well, he's got some lousy advisors. That's all I would have to say.
Thank you, Ann, for your call. It's good to hear from you. I'm going to, look, far be it for me to give the Conservatives advice. It's not like they would listen to me anyway, but here is how you're going to fix the Conservative Party, all right? My advice to you at this stage of the game. Some of my friends on the right are convinced that the Conservative Party simply must have a carbon tax. You must have a very ambitious plan to get to net zero on carbon emissions. The thinking being the Conservatives are handing millions of votes over to the Liberals and the other parties on the left. I see where they're coming from. I disagree. If I was Erin O'Toole, I wouldn't spend 5 minutes on climate change. I wouldn't spend 5 minutes coming up with some idea for a conservative carbon tax. No way. Especially if it in any way puts more burden on the consumer, which is the ultimate aim of a carbon tax. Don't talk about a carbon tax. Talk instead about, and your theme is, the cost of things. Affordability, pocketbook, like the price of gasoline. People are more worried about the price of gasoline than they are about saving the planet from the ever-present, never-ending, just around the corner climate catastrophe. Climate change might be a big vote getter in the downtowns of the big cities, inside the green belts of the big cities where the million-dollar homes are. It's a loser just about everywhere else. Where people still drive, where people have some economic common sense. I wouldn't obsess over a carbon tax for more than 5 minutes. You're going to obsess about something? Obsess about the cost of living, filling up the gas tank, buying groceries, affording a house. Let the other four parties bicker over the climate vote. That's one thing. Corey in Ottawa. Good morning, Corey.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm hanging in there.
Listen, this lockdown has been really hard on everybody.
Sure.
And yes, mental health, but it goes beyond that. On the whole, this has long-lasting effects in the years to come. We've never experienced such a thing before, and I'd just like to know what can be done to correct all of this now. Maybe there's no correction. Maybe, we just have to live through it and hopefully that COVID goes away. Or when everybody gets vaccinated, then, there's a chance for it to all be gone away. Whatever. But it's after that. We still have now as we did before the COVID, and we'll still have some same issues and problems as we will after the COVID. My main concern right now is the jobs and the loss of jobs for people, and it's affordable housing.
Sure.
To people who are living on bare to nothing anyway.
Yes.
And the cost of rent is going through the roof.
Yeah, it's not just rent. It's the price of homes themselves extraordinary. The price of rent, it's everything else that's going into it. right?
Yeah.
It's all going up. Yeah.
But I mean, for a poor person who wants to move right now,
right.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And the landlords have got us by, the kahunas and shaking it to all that they can get out of us.
Yeah.
And then the banks turn around and say to you, well, we can't, afford to give you a mortgage at whatever,
right,
at so much percent,
yeah,
but we're going to look at you and you pay $1,700 a month in rent.
Yeah, and that's not unusual, right? $1,700 a month rent for a one-bedroom is pretty typical now, as I understand it.
Well, you know what? There's going to be more homeless pitching a tent on properties.
Look. And we've got to wrap this up here, Corey, but when I brought this up with councillors, housing officials, the mayor, all of them the last few weeks. I first moved to Ottawa 30 years ago, Corey. When it comes to the housing wait list for social housing, when I moved to Ottawa, there were 10,000 names on a wait list.
Yeah.
And the wait time was 7 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Here it is 30 years later. 30 years later. How many plans and mayors and councillors and everything else have we had in 30 years? Now there are 13,000 names on that list, and the wait time is more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke to the mayor, and you know what he said to me? I almost slapped him across the face. You know what he said to me? He said, it's up to the contractors.
Up to the contractors.
Well, I just about fell out of my boots.
All right. Okay, well, you stay in your boots. But these boots are made for walking. We got to go, Corey. We'll be right back on City News.
Part of the reason I got back into this is because I am creative, and I also wanted to kind of have a fun flair, 50s vibe. All of the boxes are kind of fun names. The colors are fun. The logo is fun. And it's not just the package that I want to bring joy to people's lives. It's also the feeling that they get when they receive it, to know that there's someone that thinks of them and they're missing them, and showing that they care when they can't be there. The smallest of the subscription boxes is the red box, the classical box. So you would get 5 to 7 items from the variety of categories. Those do change quarterly. However, with items that are more popular, we'll bring them back as people ask for them, or you could get them as an add-on option. And then those items will be included in the Jazzy box, the same items from the first, although they'll be in a larger size, more quantity, as well as a couple extra items. And then in the largest box, the Doo-Wop Deluxe, which is our most popular, that is a comprehensive offering of all of the other 2 boxes, plus additional. So for example, if you were to get a certain item in the smallest of the boxes, that item would still be offered in the large, but in a bigger size. So you're getting everything bigger, plus an extra few items. The first thing is I look for Canadian suppliers and manufacturers. That is something I'm very proud of. I make sure that the products are safe, that they fit into the packages that we offer, obviously. They have to be the proper size and weight. I have approximately 300 items that we have so far that we can order that basically help make people's lives easier. There's snacks, there's self-care items, there's entertainment, a little bit of everything. And basically I try it and test it, and if it's duly approved, then I include it in our packages. So some of the categories that we have is we offer treats, which is of course everyone likes treats, no matter how old you are. So we have things like nuts, chocolates, different types of snacks, maybe a handmade piece of jewelry. We also include pieces of jewelry as well, occasionally. We also have our Pamper Items. So your Pamper Items would include things like your bath soaks, your specialty lotions, things like that. 2 other categories we offer are leisure. Leisure would include things such as puzzles, adult coloring books, paint by numbers, crosswords, word find, Sudoku, if that's how you say it. And we also have items for self-care and health. So masks, sanitizers, sanitizing wipes. They're all natural, non-drying, made with natural ingredients. So they're very good for everyone, especially in this time that we're dealing with.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, Rob Snow Show continues.
Friday free-for-all. Final quarter. Mike in Ottawa.
Rob, I don't have my TV on, but I assume you're sitting down?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I heard you talking about Tim Hortons this morning, and I have to add in my beef with Tim Hortons and their new roll up the rim contest.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I am not a fan.
Okay. Here's why I'm not a fan.
All right.
Because they're ripping us off. It's the biggest scam of all time. So I'm going to tell people how to avoid the scam.
All right.
So in the olden days, you'd get your roll up the rim cup. You would roll up the rim. You would win a free coffee. You would rip it off. And then you would go back to Timmy's, hand them the ticket. They would give you a cup, which would be a roll up the rim cup. And you'd get another chance.
Yes.
With the app, you now scan.
Right.
You activate your free coffee, then you scan, they give you a free coffee, but they do not give you a virtual roll up the rim.
So you don't have another opportunity to, say, win another coffee or what I usually get, the re-SAA.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So they're saving a bunch of money there by not giving you another chance to play. So my advice is to not activate. If you win a free coffee, do not activate it. Hoard them all until the end of the contest. And same with your points, because you get points too. If you use your 70 points to get a free coffee, you do not get a roll up the rim. So bank your points. There's an option to do that in the scan.
You've given this way too much thought.
No, I've got it all down. I'm banking my points, and I'm banking all my free coffees that I
Mike
get.
Mike is banking his Tim Hortons points. All right, buddy. Good to hear from you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Yeah. Chris in Almont. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rob.
Yes, sir.
I remember, I think a couple of years ago, they did a survey on how much we'd be willing to pay more for carbon pricing or whatever. And I think the number was about $100 a year.
$100 a year. Okay. Well, it's going to be a lot more than that. So
it was the carbon tax is going to go up 50 cents a liter, and then the green energy business is another 50 cents a liter. So your liter will cost you over $2. And all the other stuff, the groceries are going up. Everything's going up. I mean, people are at their limit. I mean, heating your house, we don't have that as an option in Canada. You have to.
Sure. Yeah.
With natural gas. I mean, none of it makes sense. And it keeps going up. And I really wonder why they're doing it.
I think the Conservatives, look, they must be open to some ideas. They're at 28% in the polls. So look, I think you wrap up a nice package for voters, all wrapped around the rising cost of living. Okay, whether it's gas, whether it's groceries, whether it's utilities, whether it's housing affordability. I would not obsess about what the price of a ton of carbon is. No way, not at all.
Exactly, and I think that's really a UN agenda.
Agendas, whatever. I mean, the reality is they're not shying away from it. Mr. Trudeau is going to raise the price of gasoline substantially. The carbon tax is going to go from where it is now, what is it, $30 a ton now? It's going to go up to $170 a ton. They've said it. And there's going to be a clean fuel standard where they're not even shying away from it. They're proud of it. They want to run on it. Let them run on it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I just want to fit in a few more calls here. Not a lot of time. Sharon, Bell's Corners.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah.
Well, who would think? Instead of complaining about the Liberals, we have lots to complain about the Conservatives.
Why not? 28%. Worst polling numbers since Harper created this party.
I mean, terrible. And when you think about it, we're saying, lots of people are saying he's taking bad advice from, they always call them, the people with short pants in the PMO. Well, you have to have brains yourself to know. Mm-hmm. You ran to be the leader. You're supposed to lead. And why is he stepping away from everything that he ran on? And how can he expect to win if he's going to embrace the Liberal agenda? need a carbon tax. All they're going to do is drive the people out west to vote for, like you said, for the Wexit. And so we're going to go down in the polls even more. Is this going to be, and what's her name, a female prime minister that lasted a few months? Is that what we're going to come to and just hand Trudeau an overwhelming majority so he can do more and more damage?
Oh, like Kim Campbell. He's going to be a Kim Campbell.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
And why can't he see that? I didn't vote for the guy to be leader. I voted for Peter MacKay.
Right.
But I think there's nothing worse than somebody running on a certain agenda, and then literally a few months later,
he pulled a Patrick Brown. He did the same thing that Patrick Brown did.
Changed it all.
Yeah.
Well, then we can't trust him because, he obviously lied, or he's lying now. Whichever, he must be a liar. So people are going to be at their wits' end to say, who am I going to vote for? And somehow or another, this guy has got to change or he's got to go. But how do you get rid of a guy this early?
Andrew Scheer had 34% of the vote. He didn't win the election. He had a higher percentage of the popular support than Mr. Trudeau had. He had more votes than Mr. Trudeau had. It wasn't enough to get it across the finish line. Let me tell you, if Aaron O'Toole can't match what Andrew Scheer brought in the last election, I don't think he's long for the job, to tell you the truth. Okay.
Like you said, people are not, we don't need a carbon tax to fix, dirty air and dirty water. In fact, it's so much cleaner than it has been for years. It's just another way of taxing us and spending
they got to get their act together.
What they want.
All right. Thank you, Sharon.
Okay.
Thank you. Good to hear from you. 2 more words of advice, okay? And then I will shut up for the rest of the week. Well, until after the news. Then 1 more hour. The Conservative Party of Canada needs to offer Canadians a grand new bargain on health care. Trudeau has money for anything called green, but he's as tight-fisted as Ebenezer Scrooge when it comes to the state of Canada's pride and joy, the universal health care system. I would have my Conservative candidates knocking on doors every day, either virtually or in reality, and asking voters, why does Mr. Trudeau hate spending money on health care so much? That's one thing. It worked for Doug Ford. It's part of the reason there was a massive PC majority government 2 years ago. Hallway health care. A new Conservative government would strike a new bargain with the 50-50 cost sharing. We won't spend billions of dollars on trees. We'll spend billions of dollars on nurses instead. And then you make it clear that something must be done about debt and deficit. And your message there is this: we cannot, in good conscience, leave this sea of debt to our children and our grandchildren. We will not burden them with this. The Liberal Party wants this generation to have it all and stick the next generation with the bill. We refuse to do that. We want to make sure our children are better off than we are. It's the adult way of governing, and it's time the grown-ups ran the show. Just a few ideas. To steady a listing Conservative ship. Are they listening? I doubt it. But they're the ones that have this party at 28% in the polls. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 12th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 3 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 4. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Latest numbers from the province on COVID infections have 18 more deaths recorded and 1,371 more cases. Those new cases come from over 64,600 tests completed. In Ottawa, 83 new cases of COVID-19 today, 10 in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 12 in the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, 9 new cases in Renfrew. The Prime Minister will be giving a COVID-19 update to the nation this morning, about a half alongside a team of ministers and health officials. This comes amid some concern and possible changes around the recently approved AstraZeneca vaccine. City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney with more.
Expect vaccines to take a key focus at today's update given recent issues around the AstraZeneca shot. While millions of AstraZeneca vaccines have been administered around the world, several European countries have stopped using the shot temporarily on reports that around 30 people developed blood clots. Health Canada echoing the World Health Organization and insisting the shot is safe and there's no evidence to support a link between the vaccine and blood clots. However, they are monitoring the situation carefully. The drug maker tells us in a statement the batches in Europe are different than those being used here in Canada. Meanwhile, the National Advisory Committee on Immunization may also be changing its position on the AstraZeneca vaccine. Initially, it conflicted with Health Canada and advised against giving it to anyone 65 and older, creating a lot of confusion. However, they may now endorse it for all adults. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
City News time, 11:03, and now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Well, it won't be as warm for us today, but we're still well above average. The high today, 7 degrees. The average high about 1. Do have a chance of showers for the afternoon. Overall, most areas will have lots of sunshine. Tonight, there is a chance of showers or flurries with a gusty northwest wind, a low -11. And for the weekend, sun and cloud, colder highs, 0 Saturday, just -2 on Sunday. For today, the high, 7.
Right now in Ottawa, 3 degrees. It's 4 degrees in Smiths Falls. Unemployment rate dropped to 8.2% last month across Canada. Locally, Ottawa's rate dropped almost a half point. Gatineau's, though, actually went up. Across Canada, 259,000 jobs were added in February, blowing past economists' predictions.
Economists had forecast a gain of just 75,000 jobs last month. The February gains have almost wiped out the pandemic lockdown-related losses in December and January. Statistics Canada reports the unemployment rate fell to 8.2%, which is the lowest it's been since last March. The gains now leave the country 599,100 jobs short of where they were in February of last year, or 3.1% below pre-pandemic levels. Don Kelly, the Canadian Press.
An emergency department doctor in Northern England says we are in an unrecognized international epidemic right now. The doctor used to treat 1 or 2 children a week for mental health emergencies, now seeing 1 or 2 every day. Dr. David Greenhorn says pandemic-related stress levels in children is truly massive. A Paris pediatric hospital has seen young teens needing treatment after attempted suicides, double since September. And more proof child and adolescent suicides hit record levels in Japan over the last year. Ottawa Police Service says a 30-year-old man who lives in Ottawa is still missing. Konstantin Bukhanov was last seen in Ottawa March 5th, then on Kingston the very next day. Officers issued a release on Wednesday this week asking for help locating the man. You can see his picture at ottawa.citynews.ca. And 4 people in suburban Detroit, a lottery club they formed, won $1.05 billion in the Mega Millions lottery jackpot. Uncle Sam will take some of that. They'll be splitting $557 million tax-free. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's a pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
All right, this is going to be a great half hour. Mark Goudie is here. He's president of Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group, also known as OSEG. And in about 10 minutes from now, Steve Warne will be here, veteran Ottawa sports. We'll probably talk a lot about what Mark Goudie said. Good morning, Mark Goudie.
Rob, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. That wasn't a super happy newscast, though.
No.
In the lottery part.
Well, these are the days of our lives.
There you go.
Like sands through the hourglass.
There you go.
Will the 67s play this year at all?
I think so. You're seeing some positive kind of news coming out from the minister, particularly this week, who's working on that file. The OHL is a pretty old school, secretive place, so we don't get a lot of firsthand kind of updates on what's happening, but I feel like we're going into a good place here, and you're probably going to hear something. I'm hoping you're going to hear something positive next week.
Like a playoff?
Well, I'm guessing it's going to be an abbreviated season of some sort. My guess is they're going to try and get as many teams playing as many games as possible, so you can get back to doing what you're doing, which is important for the NHL draft that's going to come up, and it's important to our program for. Yes. We're competing for players with, U.S.-based schools, NCAA, and that type of thing where we're playing right now. So I think it's important for us to have some sort of season. So, normalcy is kind of brought back to the program and a good basis for next year starting again.
Yeah, and you want to draw top talent. You want to lure top talent to play for your club. But if the Ottawa 67s aren't icing a team, then there are other options, right?
Absolutely.
North Dakota or whatever the case might be, or wherever, So,
yeah, and right now we're the only jurisdiction, with this level of hockey that's not playing hockey. So
really?
I think it's something we need to get back to.
What's going on with the other major junior leagues? Are they playing in the West and in Quebec right now?
They are. Quebec started some time ago. It's had a couple of pauses in its season, and the W has just got back to playing. The O is the only league that's not playing, and that's including junior leagues in the States and NCAA. So, some other day we'll dissect all of this and figure out who was right and who was wrong.
Sure.
It's really hard, to figure out what is right and what is wrong. But I know it's tough for our athletes. It's tough for their parents right now, right? This is the most important things in their lives. Everybody's got dreams of playing in the NHL. So, you've got parents sending their kids over to northern Finland and Sweden, places that's, less safe than keeping them here at home in Ontario. So, hopefully we can address that and salvage some part of our season.
And you have a plan, I'm assuming, Mr. Goudie, what that looks like, right, at the Civic Center at TD Place, right?
Yeah. So my dad was Mr. Goudie. I'm Mark.
Sorry, Mark. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I'm expecting what you're going to hear is teams aren't going to be playing in their home arenas, that there will be a couple of sites that are used going forward, and that's me reading the tea leaves. I don't know that that's the case. We had put our hand up and said if the league was going to be doing some sort of a hub where teams were coming together, we'd be happy to be one of those sites. We haven't heard anything on that right now, so I don't know where that stands. But my expectation is they'll bring players together versus having people traveling in buses all over Ontario.
In the end, the ultimate decision is up to the Ontario government. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's up to the OHL to figure out something that is safe for our athletes with the Ontario government and public health. And then it's up to the governors, the owners of the league, whether it's something that makes sense to them from a safety, from a sports, and from a financial perspective at the end of the day.
All right, let's move along to football.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see the Red Blacks this season?
I very much do.
I miss the Red Blacks. I really do. I need to see some Red Blacks football, Mark.
So I think we'll get there. What exactly that looks like, I don't know, but I'm a high degree of optimism that we will see football at TD Place this year. And your newscast aside, I think we're moving in the right direction. And you look at the number of vaccinations that are coming to Ottawa and how it's going to be expanded, dramatically over the next couple of weeks and months. So, I think late summer we'll be in a decent place here to have fans back to TD Place. And that's, again, me reading the tea leaves a little bit, and I know there's lots of caveats that go with all of that stuff, but I think we're going to be back. And I wasn't there last year, right? I think the highest I ever got to was 40-50% in terms of seeing, and I'm much higher than that this year. That we're going to see Red Blacks back at TD Place.
Okay, what does collaboration with the XFL mean?
That's a great question, and I think it's yet to be kind of determined what that exactly means. I think it's good that the CFL got out and had that conversation with people. I think it takes harpoons sometimes for having conversations that it's not involving its fans and its players association kind of in. So if they're going to have those conversations, there's nothing that stays secret in the CFL in pro sports in North America. So I'm glad that they put that out so that they can go have their conversations and figure out, what might make sense going forward. And I think it's nothing abnormal. They've been talking to the AAF, the XFL, the NFL, other leagues globally in terms of what they're doing. And I'd much rather, be a part of the discussions with this new ownership group with the XFL and what they have in mind going forward for football, both in North America and globally. So I think we'll see. I don't think it'll be quick. I think it'll be, some time, but hopefully, they can figure out something that is good for us up here in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, The Rock has history there with that league, right? With the CFL, right?
Yeah, not just the league, with the country, right? Both of his parents were born in, I think, Amherst, Nova Scotia.
Right,
so,
yes, that's right. That's right. I think, yeah.
Yeah, and he had a quick, it feels like it was overplayed a little bit in the news this week, but he had a quick stint with the Calgary Stampeders back some time ago. I think I might have the story wrong. I think his holding companies and how he does business is something like $7. And I think the story goes that when he got cut from the Calgary Stampeders and gave up on his dream of playing professional football and getting to the NFL, he had $7 in his pocket. And I think, that was the start of the trajectory of the rest of his, meteoric career. So, he has, if you look on social media, he's got some pretty cool stories about his time in the CFL and kind of how he's kept in touch with Wally Buono and, what it meant to his, where he is today.
Well, anything that would promote the CFL as a league would be good for the league, right?
Yeah, it's hard. We Randy Ambrosi, got brought in and, given a mandate by the owners. You need to grow football in Canada, both at the minor football league level and at their fan bases, particularly in our big cities where it's struggling right now. And you got to become more relevant than we are right now and, be innovative. So, all of those things don't jive particularly good sometimes with the, the history of the league and, the weird quirks that we love about the CFL and the rules and all of that stuff. So, it's not an easy thing to solve for. I like what, Dwayne Johnson had to say about the heritage and the importance of the heritage of the CFL and Canadiana and all of that this week. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with those conversations. But I think it's, top of mind that the uniqueness of our rules in our league is what makes us special and what people find endearing about the CFL.
How would you describe the current business conditions of the retail and hospitality sectors of the Lansdowne side right now?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're a business of mass gatherings, right? So, that kind of sucks on all fronts, both our sports and our entertainment. And, retail's been extremely challenged. I think we have a stable retail base, so that's good. I think they're enduring and we're helping them best we can. But, lockdowns are difficult. So we're really looking forward to, some nice 16-degree days here like yesterday and the snow melting and getting back to patio season. I think you'll see a pretty outdoorsy kind of summer happening and lots of patio stuff happening at Lansdowne, and hopefully we can throw in some events and some football games at TD Place as well. But this pandemic is no fun if you're in a business that relies on people getting together in crowds and enjoying each other's company.
Mark Goudie, great to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
As always, thanks for having me.
Thanks again. Yeah, Mark Goudie is the president of Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group, OSEG. Steve Warne, veteran Ottawa sports broadcaster, Sens Nation podcast, and the Steve Warne Project. He's coming up next. Ottawa Senators play tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. One of the things that we'll talk about. May even touch on some golf. And if we hurry, we'll talk about curling on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
So Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Centre has been around since 1982, and it's here to serve residents of Ward 13 on helping to reduce poverty in this community, as well as empowering residents to find resilience within themselves. So one of the new focuses of our centre is around food programming. So you'll notice today when we go around on a little tour that we have a number of food programs here at the centre. So one being obviously our emergency food program, which is really great. So residents can come and access food when they are in need. We also have a number of food-based social enterprises here at Rideau Rockcliffe as well. So one being the Ottawa Good Food Box, another being Market Mobile. One of our new initiatives that started this year as response to COVID is called Good Food on the Move, and it's a click and collect online store, and we have 7 pickup locations throughout the city. More sort of local here for Ward 13 residents, we've also started a free produce market as well. So community members can come on Wednesdays and Fridays and be able to access additional free fruits and vegetables.
Social Harvest Ottawa is one of the social enterprises here at the Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Centre. We operate this great urban greenhouse, and our work is not only to grow nutritious and delicious food, but also to nourish communities with community members here in Ward 13 and beyond. The greenhouse is a year-round project. We're a team of 4 employees working here. We have 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees. We focus on growing microgreens from late fall to early spring, and hothouse crops in the summertime, such as tomatoes and cucumbers.
The Mission Food Truck we're in our 5th week of collaborating with them to come visit our center, and we just got in on it at the right time. They were looking for new communities to branch out to. They said absolutely. Right now they're funded through donations. They travel around Ottawa and just give out delicious, fresh, hot food to people as well. We have at our center the Ottawa Good Food Box, as well as the Market Mobile. So Ottawa Good Food Box has been around for 25 years, and Market Mobile is a little younger, started in 2014. So they both have the mission and the mandate of making fresh food more accessible and affordable in neighborhoods that lack access to a grocery store. So I think the greatest need that we've seen as a result of the pandemic in our community is people that we maybe have never needed to access our services right? So a lot of people have had, layoffs. Maybe they're just not able to work because they have to stay home with their children, over the summer, that sort of thing. So we've definitely seen the need go out, particularly for our food programming, as well as some of our counseling services as well. So it's a heavy time for people emotionally.
Ottawa icon.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
He is the host of the Sens Nation podcast and the Steve Warne Project. Steve Warne, welcome back.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, the Senators are playing tonight, 9 o'clock face-off against the Edmonton Oilers. They have yet to defeat the Edmonton Oilers this year. And in all honesty, Steve, after the last game, I bet you Ottawa just wants to get out of Edmonton and never play them again. What do you think?
Well, yeah, there's some certain teams you don't match up well, and that's very clear based on record that Edmonton would be one of them. And I think that in that last game, a 7-1 drubbing, which really felt like a big regression for the team. I think if you're planning to go out and try and outskill a team and you're the Ottawa Senators, you're not going to have a whole lot of luck. They got to rely on hard work and great structure. And then if you go out and try to outskill the Edmonton Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl and the skill they have, you're really setting yourself up for a disaster. So I expect a full reset tonight and a much better performance.
So after Edmonton, who's up next for the Ottawa Senators after Edmonton?
It'll be Toronto on Sunday night.
Okay. That's the thing, right, with this all-Canadian division. There are not many easy opponents for the Ottawa Senators. So,
the Canucks are looming after that early next week. So that's a team that has not lived up to their expectations for this season. So we knew Vancouver in the early days, they thundered the Sens a number of occasions. So maybe there's a bit of payback coming up because Vancouver has certainly not been very good in the second quarter of the season.
I mean, sports is kind of funny that way. Sometimes some teams just have other teams' numbers. I mean, the Senators have played extraordinarily well against the Montreal Canadiens, not just this season, but in seasons past. They've done pretty well so far this season against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I don't know. It's just when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers, Edmonton just has Ottawa's number. The last game was just, well, let's just forget about it. Move along. There are no happy memories there. So, look, we just had Mark Goudie on, the president of OSEG, and we asked him about the news about the CFL-XFL collaboration. He didn't have much that he could say about it at this point in time, but what did you think about that they're collaborating, these two leagues? And I wonder if this is the end of Canadian three-down football. What do you think, Steve?
Well, it's hard to formulate an opinion when you don't know how deep they're going on these conversations, but it could be anything from a simple alignment like, okay, with the XFL, or it could be something as dramatic as a full-scale merger. We don't know exactly where things stand, but I think if it is a full-scale merger, it suddenly becomes one of the biggest sports stories of the year.
Wow.
But right now, only The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Randy Ambrosie know how deep. And I find it certainly a compelling storyline. I would be disappointed if they got away from the CFL name and got away from the Canadian rules. But I did a poll yesterday, and it's still going on, and there's something like 1,500 votes. I asked the question, if the Ottawa Red Blacks suddenly became an XFL franchise and went to four-down football, would you still go to the games? And 73% said, yep, I certainly would.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, three downs, four downs, it wouldn't matter to me. If anything, if anything, I kind of prefer four-down football, really, but...
I love them both.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not asking the Red Blacks to go out and play lacrosse, it's still a brand of football I love. I love the NFL, and I grew up on the CFL, so I love both brands. I would miss the three-down football, and I'd wonder what amateur football and university ball would look like in this country if the CFL suddenly were to go away. But maybe it all goes to four down. I don't know, but it's certainly a compelling storyline.
And then the dimensions of the field too, Steve. Right? Are they going to play with that too? They're different as well. So
there's tons of different rules. There's fewer guys on the field. There's a smaller end zone. There's countless different rules. Fair catches. The elimination of the rouge, which I know you would miss, Rob.
Yes, the rouge. If you had even asked me to explain what a rouge is, I couldn't even tell you. Golf. Hey, look. Playing tonight. They're not playing again, I don't think, until Monday. So for me, the big sporting event that I'm going to be watching this weekend, well, I'll probably watch some of the Brier, but I want to watch the Players' Championship. This is kind of like an unofficial major, Steve. It's kind of like the fifth major, right, Steve?
100%. Yeah, it's unofficially billed as the fifth major, and tremendous to see a good Canadian in Corey Connors where he is, and it's neat to see a guy like Sergio Garcia, who I thought may have finally peaked at the Masters, finally won the Masters a few years ago. Hasn't done much since, and suddenly there he is at the top of the leaderboard. Yeah.
And it's a great course, right? It's one of the Sawgrass, I think, is where they're playing, right? They have the Island Green, and it's every time I see that golf course, I just think that's the golf course you play in the video games, and these guys make it look so easy. So, that's going to be a good one. All right. This is a roundabout way of asking you, who's the best player in the National Hockey League right now? Because you watch Austin Matthews last night. He scored an overtime goal. It's just a thing of beauty, and he leads the National Hockey League in goals. Then you look at the stats, and it's Connor McDavid in points, and you see how he just can dominate and take over a hockey game. So I thought I'd ask it to you this way, Steve. You get first pick in an imaginary hockey series. Let's say it's the North American players versus the European players. Who would be your first pick? So, because that forces you to say, well, I'm going to pick Connor McDavid first, or I'm going to pick Austin Matthews first for my North American team. Who would you take?
I would probably, and what an embarrassment of riches to choose from, I would probably lean in the Connor McDavid side of things.
Yeah.
I think you look at what he's done in his career. He's so quick. He's the fastest guy I've ever seen with the puck. There's lots of fast players, but to be as fast as he is while carrying the puck, like you just said, he can take over hockey games. Austin Matthews seems like a guy he's phenomenal in his finish around the net. Seems like he needs a little more of a supporting cast than neither of them do, but a little more than McDavid does. And the other thing is just a little more, not a lot of track record of success in the playoffs, but he has had a little more playoff experience than Matthews has. So by the slimmest of margins right now, I would take Connor McDavid.
Boy, they're both great players, though.
Oh,
even though one plays for the Leafs, I'll say it. And when it comes to the best European player in the game, who is the best European player in the game right now, do you think, Steve? Draisaitl, right? It's got to be Draisaitl, right?
I love Draisaitl, but there's still guys that can compete with him. You look at a guy like David Pastrnak in Boston.
Okay.
Love that player. Kucherov in Tampa Bay. He's a phenomenal player as well. I mean, there's so many great European players right now. And if you're talking about that World Cup thing, you're talking about North America and Europe.
Yeah.
It's those teams actually would be, if we played the World Cup today, the North American team is strictly under 23, and Team Europe is more of a, guys who don't have teams that really are any good, like Swiss players, German players, Slovakian players. So it's kind of an interesting way the World Cup goes about things. But yeah, as far as, the best European players, there are a ton of them. If I was to pick one right now, I'd probably go Kucherov.
Kucherov. Okay. All right. You gonna watch any curling? Are you into the curling? Do you because your co-host Jim Jerome, he loves curling, right? He follows curling, right?
Absolutely. He hosts Inside Curling, and I believe Sportsnet just picked that up.
That's right. That's
good
right.
for them.
Yeah, good for them. Yeah.
I haven't been watching a lot of the curling. I'll be honest with you, but I can't give you a whole lot on that.
For shame.
I know.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, bye-bye. Steve Warne from the Steve Warne Project and the Sens Nation podcast. We're back with Queen's Park Week in Review. You don't want to miss that with our MPPs right after the news on City News.
Local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, the 12th of March. Good morning. I'm Sarah Buck, and right now in Ottawa, nice sunshine and a little breezy and 4 degrees. It's mainly sunny and 6 in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news this hour. Provincial health officials report 83 new cases of COVID-19 in Ottawa out of 1,371 new cases across the province. Ontario also reporting 18 new deaths due to the virus. Leeds Grenville Lanark Health Unit confirming 7 new cases, 5 of those in the past 24 hours. Elsewhere locally, according to Public Health Ontario, Eastern Ontario has 12 new cases. Renfrew County has 9. Those local figures are updated in the afternoon. Quebec is reporting 753 new COVID-19 cases and 9 more deaths attributed to the virus. There are 22 new cases in the Outaouais. Health officials say hospitalizations and the number of patients in intensive care in the province of Quebec have both dropped. Sunshine and snow melt. It's that time of year. Rideau Valley Conservation Authority has installed some monitors in 4 locations to gauge water level and flood risk. The monitors are at Cumberland, North Gore, Jock River, and in Richmond along the Rideau as well in downtown Ottawa. Manager of Environmental Services at the authority, Brian Stratton, says the monitors will be able to give them a heads up in places that have traditionally high water levels. There's more information at the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority website. I'm Sarah Buchan for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Strong voice.
Strong opinions.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It is time for Queen's Park Week. 3 MPPs are joining us on the line. David Piccini from the Progressive Conservatives. He's the MPP for Northumberland-Peterborough South, and he's in Port Hope today. Good morning, David.
Rob, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to hear.
On a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you, David. Gilles Bisson cannot join us today, but we have a very able substitute. It's been quite a while since she's been part of our program, but it's great to welcome back France Gelinas, the New Democrat from Nickelbelt, I believe, right, France?
Absolutely.
Yes, and you're in a place called Whitefish, Ontario, which sounds nice. Is Sudbury part of your riding then?
I have the outskirt of Sudbury is part of my riding.
Okay, Sudbury might come up in our conversation today. So,
yep.
And John Fraser, Liberal, Ottawa South.
Hey, Rob.
And the big question will be today.
That's a few blocks away. Alta Vista.
Alta Vista. Okay. So, let's launch right into it. It's been a very busy week, much to cover off. The vaccine rollout so far, the government, David, celebrating 1 million doses. The pilot project offering COVID-19 vaccines in pharmacies is also expanding more broadly today. Where do you think the vaccine rollout is going well, and what are some of the challenges at this point in time, David?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Well, first and foremost, as you mentioned, we celebrate an important milestone in terms of vaccines, getting them in the arms of Ontarians. Without question, Canada suffered some very real setbacks with respect to the supply. But with increased supply, there is light on the horizon, and Ontario's been in a position where we've been able to get jabs in arms of those who want it. We're on the heels of a successful campaign within long-term care, with our retirement homes, our healthcare professionals involved in aerosol generating procedures, and the heroes on the front line. And now we're seeing clinics across Ontario. And what I think is really important here, Rob, and we've spoken on this on the show before, is that the realities in downtown Toronto at Yonge and Egg are very different from my community. For example, up in Hastings, out in Trent Hills, we've actually got a mass clinic being set up at the Trent Hills Fire Department. It's really conducive. It's going to be easy to access. And we've been relying closely on, obviously, our local health units. But what's been really, really good to see is all of the mayors. I'm on the heels of a Friday morning call with all our mayors, our Indigenous leaders, and everybody's been involved. This has been a Herculean effort. People are coming to bear for Team Ontario. And, in this province, we're getting vaccines in the arms of folks. The numbers speak for themselves. And it's good to see pharmacies coming online, too, because we know the important role that they played in the flu vaccination program as well.
Okay. How would you describe, France, the vaccination rollout so far? What could be improved? What are some of the challenges here, in your opinion?
We still haven't got a plan to make sure that there is equity of access to the vaccine. I represent a riding in Northern Ontario. Sudbury is in lockdown. We're in the gray zone. Nobody's doing anything. I'm at home, and we still haven't got our frontline worker vaccinated. We still haven't got people in long-term care home. Most of them haven't got their second shot, and most of the workers. So the priority list of the phase 1 in the north is not done. And then we see in other places of the province where they're ready to roll on to phase 2. And the number of people has called me, physician, nurses, lab tech, physios, who are they work so hard, they feel nobody cares about them. We have an outbreak at our hospital of COVID right now. We have a few of them in our long-term care home, and we have no vaccine. Vaccine that were supposed to come, the last batch, we only got 2/3 of it. Why is it that 3 months into vaccination, we still haven't got a plan that is equitable to all? Physicians are out of their minds. We don't need to do a pilot project with physicians. Know how to administer the vaccine. Let's roll it out where it is needed and in a equitable way.
Okay, I'll let David respond. I'll let David respond in just a minute. John, you want to jump in there, John?
Yeah,
basically the same question. So go ahead.
Yes. Thanks, Rob. Yeah. Look, first of all, I just want to say that the job that Ottawa Public Health has been doing has been great, and they were really quite ready all the way through this pandemic for all the things that they needed to do. My concern with the vaccine rollout, and I'm glad more vaccines are coming and that they've rolled them out to pharmacies, same as France's, is the equity of access to ensure that people are able to, the right people in the right place in line are getting their vaccines. The online portal is going to arrive on Monday. It's a couple of weeks late. And we've brought on pharmacies who are using their own portals right now. So there's, I know, people who said to me, I've got myself on 6 pre-waiting lists. So I'm concerned about just the many points of access and how that might be confusing for people and how that could lead to people to book more than one appointment, which really they shouldn't do. It's the wrong thing to do, because what would happen is a vaccine may be at risk of being unused. So, look, we all have to make this thing work. The only other thing that I'd say, to France's point, we shouldn't be piloting in a pandemic. One of the concerns is getting the vaccine. Did
you say we shouldn't be piloting, doing pilot projects during?
We shouldn't be piloting.
Okay.
While things are coming in the door as fast and furious as they are. We should be ready. We should have had a website 2 weeks ago. We should have been able to turn on the juice for the pharmacies a week ago. And as far as getting vaccinations for people with chronic conditions who are prioritized, it's the honor system. And I believe that most Ontarians will do the right thing.
Right.
But not everybody's going to. And the people who actually know the people who have chronic conditions are, for instance, Joel Nisnik, who has a cardiology clinic here. He's got 50,000 patients. Why aren't we doing something there? Why isn't the province saying, let's take this approach where we go to people who know exactly who they serve them?
Okay. David, your colleagues see a lot of problems with your government's vaccine program here.
First and foremost, Rob, there is only one person in this country or level of government that can answer for the reason as to why Canada lags behind every G7 nation, most industrialized nations with respect to supply. Now, I don't want to, belabor that point, but it's an important point to make. That is our Prime Minister and the federal government. Okay. Having said that, as we are now getting more supply, and for example, in our region, we're not even getting our next shipment until March 15th. There's nothing, that's when we're getting our shipment. That's the bottom line. It's not that Ontario had that shipment. Okay. We're not getting it.
Just let me jump in, David. Just let me jump in with a little bit of news, because as is usually the case on Friday at this time, while we're doing our panel discussion, Mr. Trudeau is doing his thing. The Prime Minister just announced Canada will be receiving 1 million vaccine doses per week from Pfizer from March 22nd to May 10th. So that's the latest from the Prime Minister on that.
News,
okay.
But I think that announcement illustrates my point. We're getting that stuff live as you and I are getting it, as the listeners are hearing that today. That illustrates the point that I'm making here. Okay. And that's good news. That's good news that we're getting it on the 22nd, and we'll be ready to get them in the arms. And until then, though, Rob, we've had to make difficult decisions. You know, we've had to look at it on a principle of triaging, greatest risk. The stopgap and the emergency brake has also ensured that, you know,
the 4 months, as well. The 4 months, right? The 112 days. So.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah,
but the decision not to set up
the call. One at a time, Franz.
Let me finish just briefly on one other point, because, you know, I find it really concerning hearing comments that John's making. You know, not surprising. The Liberals want to centralize everything, but he talks about complaining about many points of access. You'd only hear that from a Liberal, saying there's too many points of access. We've got to centralize it. It's got to be done out of Bay Street.
You guys are centralized. What are you talking about?
It's good.
You're doing a central portal.
Okay. Last week it was like this, and we're not going to do like it was last week. It was crazy.
But that was out of line.
All right. Hold on. Deep breath, everybody. Okay. Say it with me. Okay. What I want to get into is, look, if we had rewind the tape, we go back a few weeks ago, I would have heard the New Democrats and the Liberals saying, oh, the government has no idea what it's doing with this emergency brake. There's no plan. There's no details about an emergency brake. And it looks like they just slammed the emergency brake on in Sudbury, because Sudbury, as you mentioned, Franz, is now in lockdown. 165,000 people live in Sudbury, okay? So isn't that proof positive that there is an emergency brake? They just slammed it on where you are, Franz. So
absolutely.
Okay,
are we happy
all right.
about this? No, we are not.
No.
I mean,
are you glad
the emergency brake came because of the failures to act. In Sudbury, our medical officer of health, everybody has been asking, our schools are all filled to overcapacity. We now have all of our schools closed because we were not able to keep the kids apart. Our buses are all filled to overcapacity. We are in lockdown because we were not able to keep our kids apart. The government knew what to do to prevent this from happening and didn't do it. Same thing with paid sick days. So in Sudbury, it is seen like a failure of the government to act. And when we see the financial accountability officer telling us that they are sitting on $4.7 million at the end of December, and now your business is going to go under because you were barely hanging on, and now you're closed down again, it's just devastating. Emotionally, it's tough. Business-wise, we are losing business in Nickel Belt every single day. It breaks my heart.
Okay. John, you wanted to respond to something David had, and I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I should have waited my turn. Look, you know, you can't complain about us saying there should be a central portal when you're doing one yourself. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It defies rationality. So, David, I don't know why you went on that tirade. Look, the problem with points of access is people booking 3 and 4 appointments and not showing up for 2. That's the problem. Or right now, there are people in Ottawa who are going to Kingston pharmacies because they booked appointments. You know, so I think that's my point. And so I thought it was unfair. But about the emergency brake, the issue with the emergency brake is, number one, I'm glad they applied it. It needed to be applied.
Okay.
Probably sooner. And the other piece was there was no definition of what the emergency brake was, and that was literally said by the Associate Chief Medical Officer of Health. They announced the emergency brake. So what are the criteria for the emergency brake? Well, we're still working that out.
Okay, David, you can respond to that, but we have to stop. And I want to move on to some other issues as well, because that's not the only story in the news this week that came out of the Ontario legislature. This is Queen's Park Week in Review on the Rob Snow Show here on City News.
It was devastating, and it's devastating to all small business, but not knowing where it was going to go. But then the renovation market, as people stayed home, took off like wildfire. And for us, yes, we're very lucky, very fortunate that we were able to turn things around. I think a lot of it had to do with our internet presence as well, that I was, kept working on over years, and then it kind of took off. So that was very positive. But now, no, people are staying at home. We're renovating different markets, whether it's a kitchen or a backyard or, your fireplace. They want to cozy things up. So yes, things are extremely busy right now. Right now it's fireplaces, and I think with the snowbirds, a lot of those clients have existing wood fireplaces, so they're looking at inserts. So they want to convert the wood to gas. They don't want to deal with the wood part of it, but they want it clean and easy and efficient, and that's been a major, major increase in our business. The cottage and chalet market has increased, absolutely. We see that people, that's their staycation now, is either the backyard or their cottage with their close bubble of family. So there's no question that we've seen a big, big increase in that area as well. I've seen a change in the backyard because now the staycation, from my past being in the pool business, one of our great clients was in the other day, and he's in the pool business. He's booking for 2022. For in-ground pools, okay? So I think what's happened now is that's brought everybody back home, and I think maybe down the road, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're still gonna see people spending time in their backyards and staying home more. The barbecue area, really, we call it the backyard. So you walk out of your house into a backyard, and it kind of looks like that with the fencing and the sky and things like that. So that is just our fun room. It's just, there's a lot of cool gadgets there that has to do with dealing with charcoal and wood pellet barbecues. To go online, you're going to find, you just Google, romantic fireplaces will come up. The one nice thing about our work is that when the Google reviews and the Google pictures are phenomenal. We're uploading stuff every day. I have at least 1,000 jobs, real jobs that you can take a look at, either on the Google pictures on the drive, or if you go to our website at romanticfireplaces.com and click on Our Work. It's where we used to load lots of them up, but there's lots of pictures there too. But the great thing about that is they're real. There's testimonials there about people talking about our team. And our team here is unique to everybody else. It's two small teams, but these fellas work for me. They're our guys. So when they go into your home, they care as much about your house as you do.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, we're back. Queen's Park Weekend Review. David Piccini from the Progressive Conservatives, Gelinas from the New Democrats, John Fraser from the Liberals. So this caused quite a stir in the Ontario legislature this week. We're going to play you some comments from the Premier about NDP MPP Saul Mamakwa, who is an Indigenous MPP. Roll tape.
Question. Urban Indigenous people as part of Phase 1 priority rollout.
The Premier to reply.
Well, again, through you, Mr. Speaker, that was one of our highest priorities, to go into the 31 flying communities. And not only did Orange fly in, but the member flew in too to get his vaccine. So thank you for doing that and kind of jumping the line, as I talked to a few chiefs that were pretty upset about that. Order. For flying into a community that he doesn't belong, but that's here nor there.
Order. Or there. There are calls for the Premier to apologize for that accusation that this NDP MPP, Mamakwa, is that, am I saying that right?
Mamakwa. Yep.
Mamakwa, yep. Okay. Should the Premier apologize to this member? France, he's your caucus colleague. What do you think?
It was a very sad day for people who support First Nation when we hear the Premier say things like this. MPP Mamakwa represents Kiwitanong. He is from a fly-in First Nation. He was personally invited by the chief of both community where he got his first vaccine and then the follow-up vaccine in an effort to help the First Nation make sure that there is pickup. There is lots of reluctancy amongst the First Nation toward the vaccine, and the chief of those First Nation asked MPP Mamakwa to come. MPP Mamakwa has done great work trying to support Flying First Nation so that they build up the confidence needed to get the vaccine. Let's face it, First Nation are not usually at the fourth of the line. They're used to being forgotten at the bottom of the line. And Saul did a fantastic job. And what the Premier said was very hurtful. I support Grand Chief of Anishinaabe Nation, Alvin Fiddler, who is asking for an apology from the Premier.
Okay. John Fraser?
Yeah, no, it was a low point. I mean, yesterday I actually said it was beneath the office of the Premier in question period, and Saul is that I know, and he lives in a community where vaccine hesitancy and the history of First Nations in Ontario, caused him to make sure to go and lead like leaders do, by showing that the vaccine was safe, because it poses a risk for so. And for the Premier to say that,
okay,
because everybody said that's a heat of the moment thing.
Yeah,
that's in his notes. That's in his notes. I know how this.
That was
works.
In his notes. You think that was in his notes?
Yes, yeah. And if the Premier is actually spending time thinking about what an MPP from the North is doing and not focusing on the bigger things, I'd be quite surprised.
I don't know. It didn't sound like it was in his notes, but I don't know what's in his notes. You don't know what's in it. You don't know what's in his notes. All right. Okay. Well, let's go to David. Let's go to David. David. Should the Premier apologize? Is this a case of the mouth before the brain? What's going on here?
Well, look, I think again, I don't know what's in the Premier's notes. I think without question, I think Premier was voicing some frustration. As France pointed out, our Indigenous communities for too long have been at the back of the line, and that's not the case. Under this government, with Operation Remote Immunity, they've been at the front of the line. Important to note the work of Chief Roseanne Archibald and the Immunity Task Force. And we've successfully immunized all of the people in the 31 flying communities who've wished to receive a vaccine in the province of Ontario. And we're working hard. And I think, again, if we look to what this government has done...
Okay, but that's not the question. Is the Premier accused this MPP of jumping in line, of jumping the queue? Should he apologize for that? Of queue jumping. That's a pretty serious accusation right now when there's such demand, right? Everybody wants to be at the front of the line. Right?
I can't speak to flying into a different community or the realities and nuances. Or what I can say is, without question, there was an element of frustration there, as I said, and without question, though, the important piece to look at here is the success of that Operation Remote Immunity. The success of that program has been because Premier Ford has put it as a priority. He's been able, working collaboratively with those Indigenous chiefs.
I take this as a no.
All right. Okay. France, go ahead, France. Go ahead, France.
Please,
Yeah.
I got to make a piece that it's more. It is about action, and as the government has led with respect to providing OSAP for Indigenous students first in this province.
Right. It doesn't sound like an apology is forthcoming. It doesn't sound like an apology is forthcoming to me.
No, and the hurt is there. The First Nation know about it, and First Nations leaders are speaking up. Everybody makes mistake, but when you make a mistake of this magnitude and that you are the Premier, own up to it, apologize, and realize that it's important for you to do this. First Nations are asking you to do that.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens the next time the House is in session. So, John, did you have anything to add, or do you want to? We only have 2 minutes here.
Look, you know what? He should just apologize. It was wrong.
Oh, okay.
And,
all
and,
right.
and it's just that simple. And apologizing is not that hard because it was wrong. And we all know that it's wrong.
Okay. A commission examining the impact of COVID-19 in long-term care heard that the government rejected proposals that could have protected residents during the second wave because they were deemed too expensive. How accurate is that, David?
It's a false claim.
A false claim.
It's false. I think since the onset of this pandemic, we've spared no expense in protecting the most vulnerable. We've been the first province to successfully get those second doses in, maximum protection for our seniors, invested over $1.38 billion into LTC. That's not only enhanced our LTC facilities for IPAC, PPE, etc. We're now no longer dependent on foreign countries thanks to Premier Ford and Ontario Together funding, but also the record investments into new modern facilities. You know, gone are the days of decades past where we put forward to a room and cram seniors in dilapidated old buildings.
Okay.
This government is investing in new facilities, private, semi-private rooms, where we've launched a Herculean effort for 27,000 new professionals.
Gotcha. A false claim. I'm only cutting you off because we're very tight on time. We're very tight. Is that claim false in your opinion, France?
No, I mean the many different persons and groups that have said this to the commission have said it on their oath. We know that it is true. We know that we could have hired a whole bunch more PSW through the summer, like Quebec did, to protect the 2,000 long-term care residents who died during the second wave. We could have brought 4 hours of hands-on care rather than wait till 2025. We could have
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.